Good evening, good morning, wherever you may be around the globe, in the chat room, on another planet, or on the other side. This is Late Night in the Midlands, and I am Michael Vara, and I again do welcome all of you. This broadcast, it's coming at you live from the capital city, Columbia, South Carolina, located on the east coast of the United States. And the website's www.latenightinthemidlands.com. Go on over, become a late nighter, be informed, and by all means, inform others. Tonight, my guest is, he's been here before, and he's going to be here again. It's been a little while, though, I think. David Meade joins us, and obviously we'll be talking about that, that big giant thing people call Planet X, Nibiru, whatever. And I'm kind of surprised that it's actually come up this many times this month. Just for the record, we had a cancellation at one point that Planet X kind of came into the picture that night. So it's not like I'm purposely scheduling all these Planet X shows. But David Meade, definitely, I've had him ready to go here. And I'm glad that we have finally come upon that day, because he says he's got some interesting things to share with us, and I have something really interesting to share with you tonight too. I don't know, this pen's like my magic wand. I'm one of those hosts. I'm always taking notes, always writing things down. So as a carpenter, there was always this rule: you should always have your tape measure on your side and your pencil in your ear. And at this desk, I don't have so much to tape measure, but I always got to have that pen in my hand so I can jot down, because I don't know everything. And when people give information, it's new to me, or I like to write this stuff down. I look into this stuff. Anyhow, should be a good show. I've got a gentleman. When Robert Pepino was on with me the other night, we showed a whole bunch of photos. And these photos were sent in to us from a gentleman by the name of Thomas. And we showed those photos. They're pretty interesting photos. He's now got a video that he took to show, so you could see the lens flare and see what's solid. I'm going to share that video with you here in just a few minutes. I got a little bit of news I want to get into, and so we're going to do that too. Last night had some personal things I had to attend to. Folks, sometimes life gets in the way, I understand some of you get mad. It's like, no show, and, disappointing for some of you. And that's flattering, and I appreciate it. But the fact is that sometimes, things in life come up, and they just, they out-trump everything else. And so that was, last night was one of those nights. Just like at the end of this month, I'll be taking, I think, 2 days, probably a couple days, because I'm going to be making a trip to Rochester, New York to see my children, and, a few of them anyways. And we're going to take a weekend, but I probably take a Friday and a Monday to go with that. This way I don't have to rush. And I mean, as it is, so just a weekend, that's a rush in itself. Okay, so I should get right to the video, but I'm not gonna. Should I? No, I'm not gonna. Not yet. Let me get into a little bit of news and discovery first. Let's do that. Cops warn civilians not to shoot Bigfoot after sighting in South Carolina. The cops in South Carolina, they say, have issued a warning to residents following reports of a recent Bigfoot sighting, which I reported on the other night. They said, if you see Bigfoot, please do not shoot at him or her. The Greenville, South Carolina Police Department wrote on Facebook. They said, they go on to say you'll most likely be wounding a fun-loving and well-intentioned person sweating in a gorilla costume. That's what they said. So they're urging you not to shoot, because there might be a man inside or a woman inside a costume. Greenville, South Carolina. Oh, well, I wouldn't shoot at it anyways. It'd have to be threatening for me to shoot it. Just like a person. I mean, if I fear for my life, yeah, you're gone. Goodbye. But other than that, diet drinks and food actually trigger weight gain. This was another one of those things that people, a lot of you, I don't know about our listeners, but a lot of people would put in the category with Bigfoot, you know. Really, you know, when we tell you that diet drinks make you fatter and they cause disease and they cause all kinds of problems for your body and its functions, you know, people would put that in the category with Bigfoot. Well, it comes out of the category from Bigfoot now because your favorite mainstream media people are even saying it. So diet drinks and food actually trigger weight gain. So diet drinks and diet food actually triggers weight gain and diabetes, according to this new study. So, you know, and we've been telling you with Dr. Betty Martini, who I've had on several times on this show. Matter of fact, it's probably time to get her back. It's been a few years since I've talked with her. But we've covered this many times about the diet drinks. You know, people got mad at me because I said that you go to a store like Walmart and you'll see these people in these electric carts. And I mean, the middle of the person is in the cart and the other two sides of the person is just like hanging out of it. And they're in the cart and they're reaching and they're struggling. They're giving it everything they got. I mean, their sweat's beating out of their head and they're reaching for that 12-pack of diet soda. I mean, they got to have it. Just gonna risk it all. I'm gonna get that diet soda. Well, anyways, they get this stuff, they drink it, you know, and I had a few people weren't happy about that, you know, and it's not a knock against people who are overweight. It's a knock against people who are overweight who think diet soda is gonna do you any good. It's not. It's gonna make things worse. So now you could believe it because it's not coming from a conspiracy theorist. It's coming from, you know, the lovely mainstream. So even they can't even lie about it now. They've got to come out with the truth. See? But we get no credit. We force them to do that, but we get no, you know, people like me don't get credit for that. I don't care. As long as it works, right? If it's not broke, we won't fix it. So yeah, diet drinks and diet food promote weight gain. They trigger diabetes. And not to mention, they're not even telling you at all. It also causes tumors, especially tumors on the brain. Oh yeah, tumors. If you're drinking that diet soda, you're probably going to wind up with something bad's going to wind up happening to you at some point. This stuff is no good. That's all I'm going to say. Is this footprint proof giants roamed Earth? Human-like marks discovered. I was going to load this up too, and maybe I still can, I suppose. But you got to see this footprint. And I will load it up here in just a second. But this footprint is amazing. No, that ain't it. That ain't it. So, oh, there it is. Yeah, check out this footprint. It's something else, I'll tell you. I mean, you know, how do you explain that? How the hell do you explain that? All right, so a footprint which conspiracy theorists, as they say, believes belonged to a giant has been discovered in China, sparking claims that huge humans once walked the earth. I have news for you, my friends. And no pun intended here, but huge humans still, I think, walk the earth. The human-like footprint was discovered in the southwestern province of China in August of last year. The marks found by photographers during a trek through the region is nearly 2 feet long, measuring an astonishing 22 inches. That's 57 centimeters long and 8 inches. 20 centimeters wide. Complete with toe imprints. I mean, it's got everything. Everything you would want in a footprint, I suppose. So check that out. You know, I don't know. How do you explain that? Is it a hoax? I know it's easy to just say it's a hoax. I don't know though it's a hoax, and I don't know if I want to meet up with the guy who's got a foot that big. I certainly don't want to piss him off. All right, so that's enough of that. So Bigfoot, there's the real Bigfoot. The deadly comets that NASA say could one day hit Earth with devastating effects. There are 7 times, they say, more giant comets in the outer solar system that could one day hit Earth than was previously thought. Apparently, scientists are warning us. Okay. And you know what? Hey, there's probably 7 times more likely that a nuclear power plant will melt down or the power grid will go down, and these nuclear power plants will all melt down and we'll all glow in the dark until we disintegrate into nothing. So I don't know, before we worry so much about these comets, I mean, because that's the least of your worry. Guys, people say, oh, we got to survive this. We got food and water. And what about the nuclear power plant? We got to think about that too. And I still haven't figured out how Batman gets out of that one. Trump says military is an option with Venezuela now as well. So military an option there too for Venezuela. North Korea, I don't know what's going to happen there. I don't know. Little Kim would be smart to just, I don't know, work with whoever. Apparently China's come out and said if we struck North Korea first, they would defend North Korea. But if North Korea was to take action first, they'd step out of it. I personally would say, well, I don't know. Some people think that, this is all a plot just to take out North Korea because of the banking and all that. I don't know. You could be right. You could, but, I put a little more faith than that in our president. This is the only president. As a matter of fact, I put this kind of faith in. And so we'll see. I don't know. I hope it doesn't go any further. But, if you keep threatening the United States, something bad's going to happen to you at some point. Eclipse prep. I like how they're doing all this prep work. Hospitals are stocking with blood, rattlesnake antidote. They says that this eclipse will make animals act strangely. Come on. I mean, do they mess with us? Are they messing with us? Are they really screwing with us or what? So what do we say? I always say, you want to know what's coming, watch the animals. So now here they go. They're going to cover that one. Well, the animals will act strangely. So when your animal acts strangely, don't worry about it. Why? Why would your animals act strangely? I don't know. Over an eclipse? I don't know as though they would, unless it's more than that. I don't know. I don't want to prop it up because I don't think it's more than that. But I don't know. They certainly want you to think it's more than that. Stocking up on blood, rattlesnake antidote. I've never heard of any eclipse before being, fear-mongered, can I say, with all that? I don't remember anything like it. Anyways, I've got some more here, but, here's another one. 8 threatening volcanoes. The USGS says California deserves close monitoring. So 8 threatening volcanoes. So a lot is happening. My guest is going to have a really good argument, as they usually do tonight. Not that we're arguing, but, a really good argument for what he talks about. And, it's kind of hard to... It's kind of hard to flush the baby out with the bathwater, isn't it? Beachgoers told don't panic as Cape Cod Sharktivity map lights up. It lights up good. 19 great whites hanging out off the coast of Cape Cod. Yeah, they're hanging out there because they're waiting for one of you dummies to swim off by yourself so it could take a bite out of you. That's why it's hanging out there. Don't pay attention. They want you to believe. I'm telling you, there's a lot of food dead in that ocean. Well, a lot of sharks' food dead in that ocean. So sharks just as soon come in and eat you too. All I'm saying is be careful. I'm not telling you to have a shark phobia. And I don't have a shark phobia. I don't know. The thought of those big teeth just scraping all the meat off the bone. And, you know, if you're lucky and you do get out of the water, you're going to get out of it with one leg on, the other leg just a bone. If you're lucky, you even have the bone. I don't know. That just doesn't set well with me. I'll pass. But here, I want to share this video with you. Again, this came from a listener. His name is Thomas. And I'm not sure. I won't give his last name out unless he says I can. And I haven't really asked him. And I don't know if it matters. But let's see here. Here it goes. Should start right up when I... Yeah,
hello, Mr. Vara. I was going to make this video for you just to show you.
You can see the lens flare there. Lens flare. See them moving around.
See how they
there?
both move? There's
Those
two
are
of them.
lens flares. What the hell's that
Whatever's
other guy
beside the
sitting
sun is there, and it does not move. A lens flare would move.
I know Robert Pepino would love to get on and talk about this
take
one.
this video to show you what
this
what
the
I'm
same
getting
guy.
and,
Remember he sent me pictures that looked like this. Well, there you go. There's the video.
Now I'm zoomed in. So let me zoom out so I can show you what it looks like zoomed out. Here we go. I'm zooming out.
I'm going to let it play right out.
There's what we got zoomed out.
Take a good look at it.
Look, see, it does whatever it is stationary there. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to place. So there's two separate lens flares.
I tell you, like I say, I don't know what that is. But it's something.
It's there, but it's there. It's got to be there. There's no... I've been doing this for a long time, taking a lot of pictures.
And who am I to say it's not Planet X?
I've been looking for this thing for a long time, and finally I got this new job where I'm welding.
Again, I'm going to let it play right out. I don't know how long it is. Not that long.
It just, it dampens the sun down, so that's what you get. I mean, it's really close to it,
Planet X. That's what we're talking about tonight, by the way, with guest David Meade.
So bright,
and it should be an interesting night. Of course, we'll open up phone lines and all that good stuff tonight for everybody.
You can get him my information. He can call me, email me, whatever he wants to do.
Hopefully, we'll get through the night
I'd like
without
to talk
any
to you to
issues
explain the pictures that
what
you
have
showed.
you.
The first couple were just lens flares. Those were actually pictures of it going behind the clouds.
I'll tell you, he's done a really good job.
Is what that was. I was trying to show
he
that.
He really has. He's done a really good job. I've told you. People send me a lot of stuff that I just, hey, it's lens flare, it's lens flare.
You have a good day.
This guy has really gone far and beyond to show me what's what. So I appreciate that, Thomas. And at this point, I can't debunk your video. I just can't. So, not saying that at some point we can't figure out maybe that's something else, but I don't know what the hell that would be. Maybe someone else does. Maybe you've got ideas. Maybe it's what we're all talking about tonight. Planet X. This is Late Night in the Midlands. I'm Michael Vara, and we'll be back. We'll be back because it's not here yet. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Don't go away, folks.
The LNM Radio Network offers a chat room for you, the listener, to connect with others whom are interested in the topics and guests that the LNM Radio Network brings to you. During the live shows, the hosts will even visit the chat room and chat with you, the listener. Click on the big red Chat and Listen button at the top of the website and join us. No subscription is needed at either lnmradionetwork.com or latenightinthemidlands.com.
Brad Olson is an award-winning author and researcher and has spent multiple years proving his works. His books have reached a wide audience across the country and around the world and have won numerous awards. He has appeared on dozens of television and nationally syndicated radio shows over the course of 2 decades. His book, Future Esoteric, goes behind the official story, revealing there is also an alternative narrative. The newly revised second edition includes more images, captions, and information than ever before. Future Esoteric examines the metaphysical nature of reality and the storyline of what is not being told to the mass majority of people. You can find his books at cccpublishing.com or click on one of his many banners on the LNM Radio Network site at lnmradionetwork.com.
When you need a reliable source for your toner, where do you turn? Laser Technologies International Incorporated, your source for quality laser printer, copier and fax toner. We supply a frustration-free cartridge guaranteed not to harm your printer. Delivering 100% of the quality at a fraction of the price. We have products for most major brands. Find us on the web at www.laser-technologies.com. Email us at service@laser-technologies.com. Call us at 561-792-9600. That's 561-792-9600. Laser Technologies, 561-792-9600. Providing excellent customer service since 1995.
Late Night in the Midlands covers everything.
When it comes to the matter of baby Jesus, Joseph, you are not.
Late Night in the Midlands has had over 3,060 guests.
You know, a privilege to be on your program.
When Moses was taking the Jews out of Israel, or out of Egypt.
With over 2,040 shows live since 2008, and only a couple hundred return guests.
Hello, Dr. Rand here.
LNM has been around. We started as one person and one show, growing into a network of shows surrounding Late Night in the Midlands. Late Night in the Midlands has aired on other networks, and I have been given offers most hosts would have jumped on. Offers that would have enriched my lifestyle. The bottom line is, I love who I am, and I love what Late Night in the Midlands means to me, and to all of you who have stuck by us through the years. Late Night in the Midlands, we cover everything and expose the truth, one show at a time. www.latenightinthe-midlands.com.
Ask 10 different scientists about the environment, population control, genetics, and you'll get 10 different answers. But there's one thing every scientist on the planet agrees on. Whether it happens in 100 years, or 1,000 years, or 1,000,000 years, eventually our sun will grow cold and go out. When that happens, it won't just take us. It'll take Marilyn Monroe, and Lao Tzu, and Einstein, and Morobuto, and Buddy Holly, and Aristophanes. All of this was for nothing. Unless we go to the stars.
Become a late nighter and subscribe now. LateNightInTheMidlands.com. Exposing the truth, one show at a time. Join us in the LNM chat and get your question directly to the host. From the East Coast of the United States, the capital city, Columbia, South Carolina, you're listening to Late Night in the Midlands with your host, Michael Vara. To call in, dial 803-339-2559 or 803-392-4566. To reach us on Skype, just use Skype ID LNM Radio.
All right, we're back. This is Late Night in the Midlands, and I am Michael Vara, and I'll tell you about my guest here in just a moment. The website, www.latenightinthemidlands.com. Go on over, become a member, be informed, and inform others. And folks, don't forget, without you, there is no us. So please, if you can, donate and subscribe. You could do that by going to latenightinthemidlands.com and clicking on the drop-down tab up on the left-hand side at the top. And don't forget Neely Worldwide Publishing. You could find my book, Lessons from the Other Side. It's a nice little read, folks. And no, I'm not going to get rich off it, and I'm not trying to get rich off it, but every little bit helps. So we appreciate all that you do to keep us rolling here on the air. Now, some have already said, well, it's the welding mask that he's using that caused that. And, I'm no expert with welding masks. No, I'm going to say that. But at this point, I disagree with that right now. I don't know as though it was. I'd have to watch the video again, I think, and which we will at some point. But I'm going to do even better than that. I'm going to have, after the next break, the gentleman who took that video will be calling in, and he'll be on air with me, and I can ask him exactly what steps he took and what he was using and so on and so forth. See, now that's the kind of stuff I like, stuff that I could get instead of someone saying, "Hey, look, here's a picture." Well, who took it? I don't know. Well, can you find out? Oh, I don't know. Well, if you don't know, I can't know, right? So I like to know who's took the photos, and it's great to have them so that they can explain exactly what steps they took. So we're going to do that. But first and foremost, my guest tonight is David Meade. David Meade studied astronomy and economics at a Midwestern university. After graduation, he worked in forensic investigations for a number of years. The last 10 years he has spent with Fortune 1000 companies writing special reports for management. He is a specialist in research and investigations. He has 10 books to his credit. He enjoys relating science and the Bible. He believes Planet X is a perfect marriage of the two. He is also a guest writer for Planet X News. We've got him linked up on latenightinthemidlands.com. PlanetXnews.com's one of the sites, the other, www.writers-web-services.com. And so let's go ahead and bring David on board with us, and we'll get this thing going. David, welcome back to Late Night in the Midlands. How are you tonight?
Fine, doing great, Michael. Thank you for a wonderful introduction.
Well, thank you for taking the time out on a Friday night at that to be with us here. I appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to learning more about this Planet X and where we are in all this. But I thought maybe first give us a quick roundabout on how you got interest in this. What made you one day say, this is real and I've got to research it?
Well, I would say, when I first learned about Planet X or Nibiru, the Nemesis system, I was fortunate enough to hear a couple of interviews with John Moore, the private investigator who spent a few years with the DOD, but he now lives in the Arkansas Ozarks. And I overheard his interviews and talks about the Navy veterans, the sub-veterans and so forth, the brass that had retired in around where he currently lives and works. And he said they were told that there was going to be a cataclysmic event that would occur down the road, and that they should be living at least a couple 100 miles inland and at least 700-800 feet above sea level, and the Ozarks are perfect for that, and away from any major cities and fault lines. So, and he basically interviewed them, he said, by the technique of blinking the eyes, because they'd all signed non-disclosure agreements. So anyway, he related this in a number of talks that he's done at hotels and various events. And I found that very, very interesting. And I was very curious as to what the causative factor might be. I am also very familiar with the fact that the Pentagon, as of the day before 9/11, announced through Don Rumsfeld that they had misplaced or lost $2.2 trillion, and they didn't know where it was. And that's an awful lot of money. You can't money launder that kind of money. And that's the black ops budget of the large alphabet agencies is only about $50 billion a year. 2.2 trillion is stratospheric. So you put 2 and 2 together, like they said in Watergate, you follow the money. That obviously I discovered after just a minor amount of research. I was led to contact with Phil Schneider and some of his background. Of course, he's passed away, and somewhat mysteriously perhaps, but anyway, he was involved in an engineering aspect, an engineering position as a contractor, as a civilian contractor, and he was involved in building a lot of these deep underground military bases, and that's where the money is gone. In fact, the money that's missing now is closer to $6.5 trillion. So you just put everything together. You put it's multiple jigsaw problem solving, and it didn't take me long after that to. I contacted a friend of mine in Paris who is a professional astronomer with a large observatory, and I told him I had overheard John Moore talk about Planet X, and I said, "Is it real?" He said, "I've seen it," and he told me the name of the observatory he's seen it at, and he said he had a secret film of it, which he later sent me. He had taken it with his phone. And it's an actual photograph of the system, and he got it out of the observatory at a very high level, and has shared it with me since. I have not shared it with the public, but I have seen it. Now Marshall Masters, who's a colleague of mine, and I've talked to him from time to time. He recently sent a photograph that makes it appear that Planet X is currently right over the North Pole. He was sent a photograph by an individual who was flying out west over the state of Utah, over a proving ground, I think. And what happened was they were about 25,000 feet above sea level. And you really have to be that high to get a really good photograph of the Planet X system. Occasionally you can get a good atmospheric photograph, but there's so much distortion in the atmosphere, and then you have the chemtrails, and of course you can only see it around sunrise and sunset in certain locations, and best from the southern hemisphere, and you know the whole story on that. And you can only see it in the infrared region if you have a telescope, and you have to have a very, highly advanced infrared telescope like the Vatican. So in any case, these people were flying above Utah, and they took a very obvious photograph of both the sun and, in the distance, Planet X. He analyzed it, and he's very good at photographic analysis. And I have a 3-page analysis of it in my files. I have the picture, and it's one of the best photographs I've ever seen of the Planet X Nibiru system. And it's not a lens flare, it's not a distortion. It was taken through an aircraft plexiglass window, and it's just right on spot. So the sightings are increasing, in my opinion. And
so now, wait a second. You said you've actually seen video, or you have video of it?
A professional astronomer in Paris sent me about a 1.5-minute video that was taken at about a 10,000-foot level observatory of the system. I've never published it, though.
Oh, why not? I want to see it.
I'm thinking about it. I don't have a green light yet on it, but we'll think about that. It's a wonderful video, and it was taken at a observatory that is managed by about 3 major superpowers, and it was taken at night, and you can see the moon and you can see the Nibiru system very clear. So nobody even knows he's got it. I don't want to put him in danger.
And
so
it's
that's kind of my thinking.
It's authentic. You know it's authentic then.
Oh, well, it looks absolutely authentic. Okay. Absolutely.
Ooh. All right. Well, I hope that one gets out sometime soon. I'd like to see it before we get clobbered, I guess.
You know? Well, October is going to be an amazing month. Well, you look at what's going on right now with North Korea next month. I mean, this is the fuse to World War III. This is crazy. It's all coming together at once, in my opinion.
Well, there is a lot coming together. I'll give you that. And, you know, they've been making a lot. I don't know where you stand with this eclipse, but I see it as just an eclipse. But I'm seeing a lot of, I don't know, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of prep. Like here in South Carolina, we're getting hospitals ready and we're getting snake venom ready and all this stuff. And I'm so, whenever have they gotten so ready for an eclipse? I mean, is there more to this or is it just being hyped up?
It's such a narrow range. You know, it's a 70-mile path from Oregon to South Carolina. And so what's going to happen is you're going to have tens of millions of people converging on this 70-mile path. Like in Hopkinsville, Kentucky, maybe the population is 60,000 people. Well, they estimate they're going to get 600,000 or 700,000 people in Hopkinsville, including a Vatican astronomer, in fact, to look at the eclipse from that point of view. So I guess they're afraid these people are just coming unprepared and they're going to get stuck in their cars, have accidents, and really need the equivalent of a survival preparation.
Oh, okay. And so where? Give me a framework on Planet X. Where now is Planet X and Nibiru in your book? Are they the same thing, or is there a difference?
Right. Well, just to give you a little background, it's a mini constellation. It consists of a dark star, smaller than our sun, which hosts 7 orbiting bodies, some smaller than our moon, a couple of them larger than our Earth. The dark star is called Nemesis. Some people also call it Planet X. The blue planet is called the blue Kachina. The planet that's larger than the Earth that's orbiting the dark star is called Nibiru. That's also known as the planet of the crossing, according to the ancient Sumerians, and the destroyer. And there's another object, some refer to it as Helion. There's a couple other objects. But it's a very small solar system that, you know, has this 3,600 to 4,000 year elliptical orbit. 74% of all, of every sun in our solar system, in the Milky Way galaxy, you know, they have binary partners. And this is our binary partner. 16% have trinary partners.
Ooh, trinary. All right, and so where is it on our time frame, and when are you? I mean, 2017. Is that what you're thinking, or no?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I've triangulated the date using Stellarium, which is a free desktop application that uses math based on Kepler's laws to confirm everything. I basically decoded Revelation 12:1 and 2. I came to September 23rd of 2017, which also happens to be Rosh Hashanah, the beginning of the Jewish, civil New Year. And then from that point on, I used the sixth seal of Revelation to triangulate it further and down the road to October. In other words, what happens is I can explain this in very brief form. It's a little complex, but I'll try to synopsize it in 100 words or less. You've got to do 2 different triangulations on this object if you want to, interpret the apocalypse, the book of Revelation properly. So what happens is, in 2017, you need 4 conditions met in 12:1 and 2, Revelation 12:1 and 2. 1, the object, what is seen in the sky must be clothed in the sun. Well, we have a check on that. We have the moon at her feet. We have a check on that. Giving birth to the male child. Now, in other years, she gives birth to other planets like Mercury, Saturn, or Venus, but only in 2017 is the Virgo constellation giving birth to Jupiter, the king planet. And amazingly, Jupiter will have been in Virgo's womb for the exact length of human gestation, a little over 300 days. And Jupiter is precisely between her legs and below her womb on September 23rd. There's also a crown of 12 stars. Virgo the Virgin is always crowned with Leo the Lion, which is 9 stars. But in 2017, there are 3 more, Mercury, Mars, and Venus. So we have a check on that. So that's Revelation 12, 1 and 2. I'll just repeat the scripture real quick. A great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, a crown of 12 stars on her head. She was pregnant, cried out in pain, and she was about to give birth. So what happened is John, who wrote this in 90 A.D., and remember, this Jesus was long gone by then, and the most of the apostles were gone. I think they were all gone except for John. So he's writing about the future. He's not talking about the past. I believe he was time-traveled from the Isle of Patmos near Greece to current-day Jerusalem in the year 2017, because there's never before or after in human history does this particular celestial phenomenon happen. Now, this is not astrology. This is astronomy. I mean, I've been written about by just about every major news magazine, online magazine from London to Australia in the last month, and a lot of them misquote and don't really do deep research. But, no publicity is bad publicity on the other hand, so the book's doing great. It's off the charts. But the thing is, they all say this is some sort of astrology, but it's not. Astrology is when you call the California, psychic hotline and find out who you're going to marry, and usually it's a disaster. But this is Bible-based astronomy. Remember, Israel had the Mazzaroth, the 12 constellations. We call them the zodiac. They tell the story of the Bible. Genesis 1:14 says the God put in these constellations as signs, so we have to interpret them as signs. And Revelation 12:1 and 2 is called a great sign. If you look in Luke 21, Jesus said there would be great signs, and it's the last great sign, and it happens to be in the book of Revelation. If you look at the original Greek, it is a great sign. So it's extremely important. It's a time marker. But a lot of these articles also, I must say that I'm saying that everything's going to happen on September 23rd. Nothing's going to happen except that sign is going to be in the sky over Jerusalem at dawn. Now, that's major. That's major, because I think what it could represent is the end of a 2,000-year church age and the beginning of what's called the Day of the Lord, when Israel is the primary topic of the next 7 years, and that's a very bad 7 years.
What will that sign be in the sky? What would we be looking for? Over Jerusalem.
Over Jerusalem. Well, you'll be able to see if you were at dawn in Jerusalem, and you looked up, you could see part of the sign. You couldn't see the entire sign. The problem is the sun's going to rise and block out most of it. But this event is literally going to happen at dawn over Jerusalem on September 23rd, 2017. That's the exact day. That's the exact time. So it's happening whether we can see it or not. It is actually happening in the universe. It's a real fact. So anyway, the problem is a lot of people say, well, you're not going to be able to see the sign. Well, that's true. You're not going to be able to see it because the sun's going to be up. If you had some sort of eclipse that day, early morning, midday, you could see it. Maybe there will be something.
Well, but this sign, I mean, it's not really a sign if we can't see it, is it? I mean, how are we going to know? We're not.
Oh, right. It's a riddle. This is a riddle within a enigma inside a mystery. So it is, what I call it, it's the key to the cryptogram. It's what you use to decode it. In other words, every cryptogram has a key. When we captured, the Allies captured the German Enigma machine back in the 1940s, it was sent to Britain, and, they decrypted it. So we captured one model of it. They decrypted it. It helped us won the war. So I would say what's going to happen is you've got to, number one, decode that verse in Revelation because it's extremely important. But then you have to go forward another step. If you actually want to see something, you're going to see something in October. You won't see anything September 23rd, but we need a beginning point to work with. So let me explain one step further. Well, I have to explain a little more in depth.
Okay.
What's happening is, in the sixth seal of Revelation, you have a number of events. In this sixth seal of Revelation has the seals, the trumpets, and the bowl judgments. The trumpet judgments are the first half of the 7-year tribulation period. The bowl judgments are the last 3.5 years. The sixth seal opens up, it triggers the exact date of the tribulation itself, in my opinion, and most Bible scholars agree with this. So, let's say that that's true for purposes of argument. When does it happen? Well, I note that the sixth seal has to occur on a full moon, and it has to occur before the Virgo pregnancy that we've been discussing with the king planet Jupiter in the womb of the Virgo constellation. It has to occur before that exits. When does it exit? It exits it exits October 13th. So it's got to be between September 23rd and October 13th. Now, the only full moon that happens in that frame of time is October 5th. And the description of the sixth seal in Revelation is such that there is a blood moon and the sun is darkened. So we've got to consider that as the actual date where Planet X appears in the sky and eclipses the sun, and it will be visible at that point. So that's the actual date, not September 23rd.
All right, so all this hype about September 23rd is just that. I mean, it seems like every year, September. Everybody predicts we're going to all die in September. And that's
right. Yeah.
And so far, that's not been the case. And I hope it stays that way. But so if you were somebody who didn't go by the Bible or didn't see things that way, what else other than the Bible? Now you said you've seen a video, but other people haven't seen that video. So what can people go by to say, yeah, this guy's right, and he's telling the truth about this? Where can people go to see, convince themselves that this is coming?
Well, that's an extremely good question. 2017 is the year of Planet X, and during a recent media interview I had with Marshall Masters, he told me that two other very prominent researchers had also pinpointed the fall of 2017 as the arrival time of Planet X. One is Major Ed Dames, who's former head of the Remote Viewing Project, a joint venture between the Pentagon and the CIA. The second is the renowned and well-connected Bob Dean, a former group of good old boys whose network of insiders, follows the initial discovery of Planet X dating back to the 80s. So Bob reportedly was asked by one of them, did our infrared equipment, they were referring to the IRIS satellite in 83, detect Planet X? And they retorted, not just yes, but hell yes. So I would say 2017 is highly meaningful. It correlates. Now, if you want to look at some very unusual dates or coincidences, I have a contact named Horatio Villegas who's sent me a book called The Final Warning, and it's very interesting. It's a prophecy book, but this man has had visions, and he said, and this has been published by The Sun and in London and some of these large tabloids that also write articles about me, that he said that he had a vision some years ago, and he said that we would have World War III involving the United States, Russia, China, and North Korea, and it would begin in October of 2017, which, by the way, is the 100th anniversary of the Fatima apparition. And this man's a Catholic. I'm not a Catholic, but he's a Catholic. I used to be a Catholic. But in any case, I respect Catholics. I had some cousins who were priests. Now, so what happens is, he says this is it. He said October 2017 is it. It's the 100th anniversary. So you have independent corroboration by very unlikely people. Let me put it this way. Bob Dean and, Major Dames and so forth. You can also go by dates, and there's some very peculiar things going on here. There were 6 blood moons which appeared on the Jewish pilgrimage feast associated with Passover and Tabernacles, 2014, 2015, 2016. Then we just discussed the wonder of the woman appearing in the sky over Jerusalem on September 23rd, 2017. So these are all warnings of the approaching apocalypse, or Daniel's 70th week. I think fair warning's been issued, and if you look at this sign of Jonah, Great American Eclipse or whatever, this could be viewed in several fashions to be a 40-day warning. It counts down, in fact, to the Day of Atonement, October 1st of 2017. It brings you right into early October, and it's very interesting. But anyway, this is all around about 70 years. The nation of Israel was ordered, restored by the UN in 47. This 70-year period terminates in the fall of 2017. If you look at history, when Israel had problems in the Old Testament, their exile to Babylon was 70 years. The time from Jesus to the destruction of the Second Temple, exactly 70 years. 70-year time frame is the principal subject matter of the book of Revelation. And you've got a lot of 70-year correlations. You've got some 120, 100-year, and 50-year correlations. These all target and pinpoint 2017. The 120-year correlation is from 1897 to 2017 is 120 years. Now, that happens to be the exact length of warning God gave Noah, and also it's the exact length of time that political Zionism has been prevalent. Theodore Herzl was the founder of this, and he published a utopian pamphlet called The Jewish State, and in 1897 he convened the first Zionist Congress. That's 120 years to 2017. In 1917, the Balfour Declaration was issued. The British Foreign Secretary, Lord Balfour, to Lord Rothschild, regarding the establishment of Israel. So exactly 100 years later is what? 2017. In 1947, the UN, by mandate, allowed the reestablishment of Israel, and 70 years is 47 to 2017. Then in 1967, the Israelis recaptured Jerusalem. That's exactly 50 years, the length of what's called a Jubilee cycle from 2017. So I think these amazing coincidences are well beyond, the realm of chance. And then there's one that's just will blow your mind. I don't know if you've heard it before, but this was a Jewish rabbi in the 12th century, Rabbi Ben Samuel. It's 900 years ago. He was called the Light of Israel. And he wrote down, I'll just enumerate 3 facts he wrote down 900 years ago. First of all, you got to know that the Bible and so forth, the Old Testament, divides time into modules of 50 years. That's called a Jubilee. And from the day in 1517, when the Ottoman Empire invaded, until 1917, 400 years, to the day when General Allenby rode into Jerusalem and conquered Jerusalem without firing a shot, that's 8 Jubilees or 400 years. So that's what he said. He said that beginning in 1517, beginning when the Ottoman Empire invaded and took over the Holy Land, Palestine it was called back then, he said there would be 8 Jubilees. And that is what turned out to be exactly true. 1517 plus 8 Jubilees, or 400 years, is 1917. His prophecy came true to the day and hour. Secondly, Rabbi Ben Samuel wrote, Israel at that point will become a no man's land for 1 Jubilee or 50 years. That's 1917 until 67. There's no way he could have known this. So, because of the British mandate, the British ruled over the Jewish people. And the Jewish people had no right of self-determination. They could live there, but the British told them what they could do and could not do. And that's the 50-year block to 67. And what happened in 67? The Six-Day War. Israel defeated 5 nations in 6 days, and the land was increased 400%, 4 times in 1 day. Jerusalem was reunited, and they could pray at the Western Wall and all of that. So then, listen to this. Rabbi Ben Samuel said within the next Jubilee, the next 50 years, which would be 1967 to plus 50 is 2017. He said that year is the year of the Messiah. Now, I don't believe Jesus himself is going to return in 2017, but I do believe that his allegorical statement, the year of the Messiah, that could well be the year 2017 when it all starts. In other words, when the tribulation is kicked off in its last 7 years.
Oh, okay. And I could tell you, I've had a lot of people on this show about Planet X, you included. I've had Marshall Masters on this show about Planet X, and I'll listen to about anybody but Marshall Masters these days, and I'll tell you why. He kind of discredited himself with me when I asked him a question about his work, and he told me to F off.
I didn't know that.
Because I questioned him, and so maybe he's, I don't know, maybe he was having a bad day. I don't know, but I've had him on several times, and since that, I'm thinking you can't be a real researcher if you don't allow people to question your work. And I mean, you should welcome questioning, but he didn't. So, but that was my experience.
Interesting. The DirecTV channel contacted me a few months ago, sent a film crew out here, taped me for 3 hours. They're going to do a documentary airing September 12th, 3 parts, 30 minutes each, called The Great Sign, or The Sign, that is Planet X, and The Great Sign referring to Revelation chapter 12. They've also done some of the filming in Jerusalem at a Washington cathedral that has, frescoes of judgment and the tribulation and all that. It's going to be a really good video. So just want to mention that it'll be out there, and it'll probably be posted to YouTube the next day. And then the other 2 will follow very quickly. So about September 13th, everybody may want to take a look at that.
Okay, and I've got some questions coming in. I usually wait until after the break, but I'll go ahead because I have a feeling we're going to get a lot, and I'm going to get swamped if I wait. So, here's one from Denise. Will Florida be flooded out totally? By what day, month, etc. should I be out of Florida if it will be bad? Should we all be out to higher ground? That's the first question.
Right. The highest spot, a good question. The highest spot in Florida is 150 meters in the Panhandle. So the Panhandle is probably safe. But anywhere from Orlando south to the Keys, I would say is highly dangerous, highly suspect. It could simply be eliminated by tsunamis and as the ocean rises out of its basin during a pole shift. So I would say, by the first week in October, you better have strategic relocation plans.
All right. And here's a question, from somebody. 7 years later, another solar eclipse happens again over America, making a X over southern Illinois. What do you think life would be like by then?
Well, I think at that point, that's if I'm right, and if a lot of other people like me are right, I'm not alone in this. I'm joined by a variety of people on the internet, Scotty Clark, Paul Bagley, others. If we're right, let's put it this way, if we are right, and they're not experts on Planet X, but they're experts on the eclipse and on the tribulation and on Revelation 12:1 and 2. And if we're right, let's put it this way, and I think that how many more signs can we get? I would say that at that point the U.S. will probably be split in half. It will have experienced tsunamis, volcanic eruptions in Yellowstone, fire falling from the sky with trails of smoke, probably limited nuclear exchanges during that 7 years. It won't be the same United States. In other words, if you've got $500,000 to invest in a house, don't buy a house in Atlanta, buy a house in Belize. This is not the time to really be in the United States once all this starts. The United States, unfortunately, is going to be a target of all of these countries. Once the Planet X experience happens, that could destroy our electrical grid. And once the country is weakened, right now we're a superpower, but if our electric grid goes down, these countries, which are our enemies, and Russia has more than 2,000 nuclear weapons. China has 300. North Korea has 60. Iran has some. These countries, which are our enemies, will take advantage of that. And, if we're living back in 1851 due to electrical grid problems, they're going to take advantage, and there's going to be problems with them attacking us. So I think Planet X is going to cause a whole series of catastrophes, including asteroids striking the Earth, and according to the Book of the Apocalypse, 1/3 of the grass and the oceans and the islands and so forth being destroyed. So I don't think it's going to be the same world. There's something in psychology called a normalcy bias, and we have the tendency to think as human beings things are going to be the same as they were yesterday and today, tomorrow and the next day. But all of that's just about to change.
All right. Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see if people. I'll give you that. There's a lot going on, a lot happening that is really hard to put in any one basket. I mean, we've got earthquakes, volcano activity, the weather, and it certainly people could find an excuse for everything, and some do. I'm saying myself is that I'll at least say yes, all these changes are happening. What's causing it? I certainly won't say it's not Planet X, but whatever it is, we can all agree on this, that there's some serious stuff going on, and I have a feeling it's going to get much worse before it gets better, as I'm sure you do too. But I've had people send me some pretty convincing stuff. I don't know if you could see the screen tonight, but I also
not really.
Okay. Well, I simulcast on YouTube as well, and I have someone sent me in a video that they took through a welder's mask. I find it pretty interesting. You can see in the video what are lens flares, and then there's the sun, and there's this object below it that's awful bright. And some are telling me it's the welding mask that's causing it. Well, the gentleman who sent me that photo, or the photos and that video, he's going to call in a little later after the next break, and he's going to tell me how he did it, how he, came up with that video. And because I think it's pretty, I don't know, some are saying it's the welding mask. I'm no expert, but I'd have to say there are some people like him who send me stuff that I personally can't debunk. That's for sure.
Yeah, I've been sent. I get sent things from all around the world, and I've been sent some very unusual items, and I've done photographic analysis on a couple of them, and they appear to be real. So all I know is, we have limited photographic evidence, even with the chemtrails, and even with the problems with our atmosphere. So there's no telling what the Vatican is watching. There's no telling what they're watching from the South Pole. They've got the whole story there. They've got a lot more information than we do. But on the other hand, I think I've got the dates right.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's take a break here, and we'll come back. I'll take questions from the listeners in the chat room. We'll take questions there as well. Call-ins. We'll do it all. So hang on with me for a few minutes, my friend, and we'll be back. Folks, my guest is David Meade. We're talking about Planet X, and, I know some of you, think it's total hogwash, and there's others who live by it. And me, I say, well, there's something definitely to this. Where it is and when it's coming, I can't really get into that debate because I really don't know. But some people think they do know, and who knows? They could be right. We'll see, right? David Meade, my guest. He's linked up on LateNightInTheMidlands.com, so feel free to go over to the website and get yourself over to his. I also have it on our screen here, www.planetxnews.com. Let's take this break, folks, and we'll be back. Again, Late Night in the Midlands on the LNM Radio Network.
Olson is an award-winning author and researcher and has spent multiple years proving his works. His books have reached a wide audience across the country and around the world and have won numerous awards. He has appeared on dozens of television and nationally syndicated radio shows over the course of 2 decades. His book, Future Esoteric, goes behind the official story, revealing there is also an alternative narrative. The newly revised second edition includes more images, captions, and information than ever before. Future Esoteric examines the metaphysical nature of reality and the storyline of what is not being told to the mass majority of people. You can find his books at cccpublishing.com or click on one of his many banners on the LNM Radio Network site at lnmradionetwork.com.
The LNM Radio Network offers a moderated chat room at www.latenightinthemidlands.com. Just click the chat and listen page from the drop-down menu at the top of any page on the website, or click the Listen Live button at the top of the homepage at www.latenightinthemidlands.com. Folks, I would like to recommend a great YouTube channel for those of you who can't get enough of Late Night in the Midlands or the truth in general. Try Non-Human Entities. Non-Human Entities supports LNM, and LNM would like you all to support them by going to visit Non-Human Entities on YouTube. That's Non-Human Entities on YouTube, or just click the banner on the LNM Radio Network website that says Non-Human Entities.
When you need a reliable source for your toner, where do you turn? Laser Technologies International Incorporated, your source for quality laser printer, copier and fax toner. We supply a frustration-free cartridge guaranteed not to harm your printer, delivering 100% of the quality at a fraction of the price. We have products for most major brands. Find us on the web at www.laser-technologies.com. Email us at service@laser-technologies.com. Call us at 561-792-9600. That's 561-792-9600. Laser Technologies, 561-792-9600. Providing excellent customer service since 1995.
And as we have been programmed mentally, intellectually, one must be aware of this being programmed like a computer.
Programming that we are constantly assaulted by throughout our life conditions us, it programs us to a particular worldview.
The project is literally the secularization of the world. New secular or worldly order.
A new study says the news media have been pushing a gospel of godlessness on the American public.
Because this media is here and designed to make sure that they ask no critical questions. To make sure that the only thing that they are concerned about is having a good time. The only thing they're concerned about is filling their bellies. The only thing they're concerned about is acquiring more and more material things. And so that is why today, one of the struggles that you have as young people, that when you want to do different events and you want to talk about real issues, you have the struggle of many of your peers who've been so conditioned in this matrix that they would rather party than listen to the truth. They would rather party and shop and go to the mall than to stand up for issues of justice. They're stuck in the matrix. But you have the responsibility of helping to wake them up.
Now, how do we know that there's a God? After having been thoroughly brainwashed. And how do we know that there's a creator?
Become a late nighter and subscribe now. LateNightInTheMidlands.com. Exposing the truth, one show at a time. Join us in the LNM chat and get your question directly to the host. From the East Coast of the United States, the capital city, Columbia, South Carolina, You're listening to Late Night in the Midlands with your host, Michael Vara. To call in, dial 803-339-2559 or 803-392-4566. To reach us on Skype, just use Skype ID LNM Radio.
All right, we are back. This is Late Night in the Midlands, and I am Michael Vara with my guest, David Meade. His book is Planet X. It's up there. Well, it's up there on the screen. I can't see all of it there. Oh, no, that ain't working either. Anyways, he's linked up, planetxnews.com, and we'll bring him back in just a moment. I want to give a shout out, as I do just about every night, to my radio affiliates, High Point Radio, the top of New Jersey, bringing us into New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania, doing it on 100.5 FM, 1620 AM, WAFR, 87.5 FM, Wareham, Massachusetts, bringing us in live Monday through Friday, WCET, 101.7 FM, Columbia, South Carolina on Columbia Talk, K98 Talk, our very own, the LNM Radio Network. We simulcast on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitch, iTunes, TuneIn, Daily Motion. We're on a whole bunch of different places, and we are back. Website, www.latenightinthe-midlands.com. Go on over, become a member, and be informed. And folks, a little prayer out for my kid's grandma. I have my children in New York. Their grandma, she's in quite a battle there, fighting cancer, and she's from what I understand, in the hospital with undergoing 9 hours of surgery today. And folks, I did send the remedy just to put it out there. What people do is their business. I'm no one's doctor, and I can't say what needs to be and not needs to be done. That being said, prayers for her would be great. I had posted it on my Facebook page, and yeah, like I say, the guy upstairs knows who you're talking about. You could just prayers for grandma. Yeah, exactly. He'll know exactly who you're talking about, and hope everything goes well for her. In the long run, especially tonight as well. And I know there's a lot of them who, my kids included, who are in the hospital there and waiting for good news, I hope. And so I just wanted to give a shout out. I'm thinking about everybody. And with that being said, let's get back to things. Oh, yes, and Donna and Bruce, I don't know if they know yet, but Autumn and I will be in Rochester the end of August, last week of August. I'm coming there solely to see my kids, but we will make time for Donna and Bruce. So if you're listening, I see you in the chat, but I don't know if you're listening. If you are, then now you know. All right, so I'm going to take phone calls. We'll get the phone calls first, I think. That'll be our first target, and then we'll hit some questions in the chat. So, all right. So, David, we are back, and I've been trying to find this photo For the last 20 minutes, I've been digging through trying to find. I can't find it now, but I do have the video, and it is loaded up here. But we'll get to that again in a second. Let's go to the phones. We're going to Kentucky, 859 area code. You're on Late Night in the Midlands. First name, and who do we have here? Hello, hello. Kentucky, you're up. All right, I guess you fell asleep. Next up, Minnesota, 763 area code. You're on Late Night in the Midlands.
Yeah, hi, Michael. This is Ian.
Welcome.
In my research about this topic, I think there are three main categories that people focus on. There's prophetic.
I don't know. If you got us on in the background, turn us down. Oh, I see what happened. Yeah, all right. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So there are three main categories in this particular topic. There's prophetic revelation, there's sacred written text, and there's also experiential knowledge. I think the interesting thing is that universally, probably, most people might not agree on the first two. The third one, experiential, the only problem with this particular topic is once it actually happens, it's too late, isn't it? So we're talking about something. We're talking about something that requires two particular ways of thinking. And right now, at this very moment on this program, you two gentlemen have the keys to that thinking. It's critical thinking, and it's having an open mind. Before you can get to David Meade's work, he has really amassed a lot of information. He may use some from the first two topics I mentioned, the categories I mentioned, but that experiential knowledge is something that comes through a collection of understanding, or putting the pieces of the puzzle together with all of the facts about what's happening around us. You know, there is such a thing as, in mathematics, called catastrophe theory. And essentially, without making it sound like too crazy and getting into too much detail, catastrophe theory really deals with the slight changes that can lead to great changes. So, for an example, you might have like a sand, an hourglass, and sand is pouring down the hourglass. And those little grains of sand are pouring, and eventually a natural system will break down. It's the rise and falls of empires, it's all of the rise and falls of natural disasters, and so on. And if you can see the signs of the times, the things that are going around, whether it be the way that great people of power are acting, whether it be looking on our shorelines and seeing whole civilizations underneath the water, whatever that might be, the critical thinking is able to help you with that. But before you can get to his work, I really have to commend you, Michael, because to me you're like a teacher too. Because as a host, you have to have you have an open mind. And having that open mind is that flexibility of thought to be able to receive more information. What was it? The Oracle of Delphi told Socrates that he was the smartest person that was living, and he couldn't understand it until he figured out, oh, well, of course, it's because I know nothing. He admitted that he didn't know anything. He kept his mind open. And I really appreciate the fact that you're a teacher as well because of your open mind. So having those two skills, David Meade's critical thinking and your flexibility of open mind, I would just exhort people to think of those two things, maybe look at some of the information, keep their mind open, because one day that grain of sand, we don't know when that grain of sand will fall, but the collapse of whatever it might be will happen. So thank you very much for the time.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the call. And before we take another call, and that came from Minnesota. And I love Minnesota. I actually visited there first time, was last summer, and I really liked it. But of course, I was there when it was warm, which is, you got to get there at the right time to get warmth. But all right. So David, you want to comment on any of that before we take the next call?
Right. I would say the open mind is so important. And if you, as he mentioned, you have to integrate or correlate, you have to synthesize all of these viewpoints from geopolitics to prophecy to circumstantial evidence. and you have to be like a college professor, and you have to use your total mindset to, judge this, and you will get an instinct or intuition about it if you get enough information. I know Pope John Paul II talking about Revelation. He back in the 80s, he met with some German Catholics in Europe. It was November of 1980, I think. And he was asked, what about the third secret of Fatima? Shouldn't it have been published by 1916? He replied, I'll give you a quote, given the seriousness of the contents, my predecessors in the Petrine office diplomatically preferred to postpone publication so as not to encourage the world power of communism. On the other hand, it should be sufficient for all Christians to know this. If there is a message in which it is written that the oceans will flood whole areas of the earth and that from one moment to the next millions of people will perish, truly the publication of such a message is no longer something to be much desired. So this gives you the mindset of the elite that I think a lot of them know, but they're just not saying anything because they don't want to cause a global economic or other type of panic.
Yeah, well, and I've tried to put myself in those shoes too. If I was in charge of that information, what would I do? What would be the responsible thing to do with it? And I mean, you got two options. You keep quiet and you keep things civil until it all falls apart, or you put that information out, and from now until the day that it comes, you're going to have chaos, I think. So I could see how tough it must be for anyone who does have that information to come out and put it out there, because, man, that's a lot on your shoulders, isn't it?
Yes, indeed. And I think that the reason we're seeing so much extremism in politics, this war rhetoric between Trump and North Korea, and then a possible attack next week in Guam and retaliation by the U.S., I think these people all know about it, and they realize the time is so short, they're willing to do anything they want to, and they realize it's not really going to have that many consequences. I think the time is so short.
Well, I hope not, but I'll take your word for it tonight. Let's take another call. We're going to go to, and listen, folks, when you call in, if you're not up, I'll mute. You'll be muted, and I ask that you mute yourself, too, just out of good practice, and we'll take the next call here. Kentucky, 859 area code. You're up again. Welcome. Hello in Kentucky. Going once.
Hello?
Oh, there you are. Welcome.
Is it me?
It is you.
I'm actually in Cincinnati, but I carry a Kentucky area code because I just don't want to change that cell phone number.
Okay.
I moved 6 years ago.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, welcome aboard.
Michael.
Yeah, and folks, I'm going to say it again. When you call in, I'm going to mute you. You're going to stay muted. If you unmute yourself, I'm going to hang up on you and block your number. So,
I just want to make sure I'm the right one.
You are the right one.
In from an 859 number.
No, you're good. Go ahead. You're up next.
Michael, I just want to say I love you. I love listening to you. Sometimes I listen to some of the guests, not this one tonight, David Meade, but I listen to some of the guests and I'm thinking, what? And you always ask the perfect question to clarify what they're talking about. Well, I'm thinking, what are you talking about?
I try. It's not easy every night.
I just want to say I appreciate your broadcast, and I have never, I'm 55, I just turned 55, and I have never in my lifetime, I used to read the book of Revelations and think, what could that possibly be? Because I've read a few scriptures over the years, and I know you're not a believer, that's fine. But I've read a few scriptures over the years, and I thought, there's no way. I mean, the only thing that could possibly be would be a meteor striking the Earth, because what could remove the Earth out of its place? Or maybe a nuclear event.
Let me correct that just a little, okay? Not a believer. Okay. No, I believe that there's truth in the Bible. I just think that I think that it's referring to. I think people are misinterpreting some of it. Like for me, when I look at Revelations, I think, man, that must have been a bad time on a planet like Mars or something like that. So I guess, so
I don't want to be there. That's all I can think.
Yeah, so I guess that's where I go with it. It's not that I'm not one who says that it's all fake, everything in the Bible. I just think that it's referring to things that people
misinterpreted.
Yeah.
Yep.
But go ahead. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I agree. Yeah, so, I mean, I discovered the whole Planet X thing about 3 years ago when I got the 1 gig and started going to YouTube for my entertainment. And I stumbled across it quite by accident, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. So, of course, I followed it. And actually, having followed all the people who talk about it, this is the only time I have ever seen where everything makes sense. That is actually how revelations could occur. More than a nuclear event, more than a meteor striking the Earth. It actually does make sense.
It does make sense. It does. That's why that's why I keep talking about it here and have guests on, and because I always say I really don't know. All I have is, I have ideas. I think I might have something figured out, but when it comes down to it, do we really know? I don't know. Some might.
Yep,
That's why I listen.
We do not know. And the timelines, we don't know the timelines either, but when they talk about pole shifts and 600 mile per hour winds, I'm thinking, geez.
Yeah. So David,
Wow.
what do you think? Does you seem to have some dates in mind, right? Hello,
We
David?
lost him.
Oh, David, are you talking to David?
I am. Yes.
Yes, we are.
Uh huh.
Oh, good. I thought perhaps you were talking to the lady from Cincinnati. Good, no problem. Yeah, I was just looking actually at a report. I was reading a report that's from the ALMA Observatory, the Atacama Large Millimeter Submillimeter Array. So it's the largest single telescope in the world. It's located at an altitude of 5,000 meters in Chile. And these guys, a couple of years ago, people often say, do professional astronomers ever report on this? They did. They found an object, Planet X. They called it GNA, but it's the same thing. It's one of the few publicly available reports that's published due to the multinational reach of the Chilean observatory. And now neither the NSA nor the related New World Order powers have been able to suppress this report. It was sent to the Royal Astronomical Society in London and published in their journal, and they basically are verifying that the Planet X system is approaching. This was about 24 months ago. So I just wanted to say that this project is operated by the European Space Agency and a couple others. It's a huge effort, and a lot of these are radio telescopes, and they're located at a 5,000 meter elevation, 15,000 feet. So this is one actual confirmation we have from professional astronomers that has been professionally published. I don't think it's been peer-reviewed. It has been published.
All right. Anything else from Kentucky? From Cincinnati.
Cincinnati, right across the river from Kentucky.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just, I'm praying that we don't have to see that, because I did read the scriptures and don't want to be there. And I'm praying that just pass us on by. Don't make it too bad, you know?
Yeah, well,
I don't want to see it. I do believe that it makes the most sense. I have electrical experience and understand magnetism and lines of flux and all that, and it could pull the pole. It could tip the planet very easily because of the mass of the object passing by. So it's all very feasible. I hope we don't have to see that.
I hope not either. If it comes by, I mean, everything's on the table as far as what it can do to us. I mean, it could push us out of our orbit. I mean, there's all kinds of things.
Yep.
So none of them being
the
good.
scriptures actually say it will.
Oh,
it will tip us out of our orbit. Yep.
Get your winter
The earth
coats.
shall become as a chaste roe, and a sheep that no man takes up. Now, I don't want to be here to see that.
Well, so get your winter coats and save your old newspaper.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well,
All right, love you, Michael.
Hey, right back at you. And
Thanks to your guest for being on. I really appreciate it.
All right, and thank you for your call and your kind words. Have a good night, all right?
You too.
All right, bye-bye.
I'll stay on and listen. Bye-bye.
Okay. All right, and so up next, we've got Arizona 480, and then we'll be going back to Kentucky. So hang on there in Kentucky. You're coming up, but we got Arizona here first. 480, you're up.
Hello, Michael?
Yes, sir. Who we got here?
My name's Nicholas. I live in Chandler, Arizona.
Well, welcome aboard, Nicholas.
Well, thank you so much. I'm a little bit shocked I'm actually on because I've called in and I never make it on the air. So this is awesome. Thank you for everything that you do and giving me something to listen to every night.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Without you, there's no us. I say it,
Definitely,
I mean it.
You know, really quick. I mean, I'm going through kidney failure and stuff like that, and I can't really sleep at night, and because I'm in a lot of pain, and I needed something to get me through the evening and the overnight hours, and I'm fascinated with this Planet X and this Nibiru, and this actually right now the Mandela effect is something very big I'm looking at, but things like that, and what your station does is it gives me, and then I can actually sit there and think about it long. So just wanted to quickly tell you that I greatly appreciate it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Got anything for the guest at all?
Yes, I do. And David is his name, I believe, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. My question is with the studying that I've been doing with this whole Planet X thing, one thing is it's really hard for me to continue to believe this because I remember back in 2015, there was this huge September 23rd, 2015. And I believe a lot of people remember what happened then. And it just, everything that was predicted was going to happen on that date. And I really was set on that. I'm like, something's really going to happen. And as usual, I mean, like with the 2012 and everything like that, it just passes by and nothing happens. And then I keep looking and online, and all these people show these pictures that, frankly, look like sundogs and flares from the camera, and they say it's Planet X. And it drives me nuts because I know that it's not. I know that stuff is not what we're looking for. My question is I know it's gonna. I'm convinced that it's gonna happen. Everything with the planets heating up and everything like that, our weather changing, things like that. I'm convinced that this is a possibility. Whether it be Jupiter, I've heard BP Earthwatch talk about it. Nibiru might be Jupiter, things like that. But I apologize. My question is living in Chandler, Arizona, when the poles do flip. I've been looking at like New World maps, and they show where the new coastline is going to be, and it shows that like Florida's gone, the Gulf Coast is gone, things like that. But then it shows the Pacific Ocean coming up literally through every map I look at. It pretty much shows the coastline in the middle of Arizona, and that'll be like the new shoreline. Being right outside of Phoenix, do you think that this area is a good area to be in, or with the eruption of Yellowstone and the coastlines coming in, where do you think, if it's not a good place, how far should I be away?
Well, if you want to strategically relocate, nobody knows the exact nature of the circumstances that will occur. I believe Arizona and Colorado are very safe. The CIA recently relocated a few years ago the domestic division of the CIA to Colorado, and the NSA has relocated I think a 1 million square foot database to Utah. So I think these areas are relatively safe. It all depends on, if Mauna Loa goes in Hawaii, you're going to have a 1,000-foot wall of water headed towards California. So, I mean, how far will that go inland? It will go inland as far as, the altitude of the terrain. Once the altitude of the terrain equals or exceeds the height of the tsunami, it will stop. But nobody knows exactly how high the tsunami will be. Yellowstone could be, a totally different scenario. It could erupt at various levels. It could erupt on a catastrophic level. It's just like these objects that are going to impact the Earth. If you've got a 700-meter object, that's 100,000 megatons. That would destroy Virginia. That would produce a 1,000-foot high tsunami. If you get a 1.7-kilometer asteroid that hits us, that's 1 million megatons. Now, that would raise enough dust to affect climates, freeze crops. It would create a global tsunami. It would destroy the ozone layer. It could destroy a country the size of France. So no one knows these different variables. But in my opinion, you're relatively safe there.
That's great to hear, man.
All right. Yeah, that is great for you.
I guess, man.
Yeah. So
I just thank you so much for having my call, and you guys have a great rest of your night.
all right. Thank you, my friend, and prayers to you. I hope everything works out. I hope you get better, my friend, and get out of pain.
Just see you every night.
All right, have a good one, my friend. Thank you. Well, I'm glad that we can help. I hate hearing when people are in pain. Pain sucks. Just plain and simple. All right, we've got another call here, David. This one, Kentucky, and all right, who do we have? 502 area code.
David, it's Thomas. How you doing?
Thomas, hey, welcome aboard.
Hey, Michael, I'm sorry. How you doing?
Oh, doing just fine. Thank you for calling in. Now, Thomas is the gentleman who has taken all those photos and who has been so kind as to share them and this video with me here tonight. Now, I'm going to put the video up on screen for everyone. But, Thomas, if you wouldn't mind, and David, this guy, he's done some really good work getting photos. If you wouldn't mind, tell everybody exactly what you used and how you did it.
Hello,
Okay,
Mr. Vara. I was going to make this video
2x4,
for you just to show
weld
you.
lens.
You can see the lens flare
And I
there.
put it
See that?
against the back of my
See how
phone,
they both
and
move?
when
There's
I
two
hold
of
it
them.
up, if I'm zoomed out,
Whatever's
you
beside
can't
the
see it.
sun
But
is
sometimes
there.
I got to like zoom
and
in
it does not move. The
to
lens
actually
flare
see
would
it, or the
move.
sun's
So
brightness
just
blocks it
wanted to
out.
take
So
this video to show you.
I showed you
what
that
I'm
when I did the
getting
video.
and-
The video,
and
I
what's
zoomed in and
happening.
zoomed out. But
When I do get it,
that part of
now
the
I'm
day,
zoomed in.
it only does that
So
when
let me
it's like
zoom
real
out here so I
high
can
in
show
the
you what it looks
sky.
like
When it's
zoomed
real high,
out.
the sun blocks
Here we
it
go,
out. But as
zooming out.
lower, it gets
And there's
lower.
what we got zoomed
You can
out.
see it better.
So
as it gets lower, and then
look,
when
see,
it goes
it
almost
does
all the way down the
whatever
horizon,
it is,
it's
stationary
you can see
there.
it
You know
real
what I'm saying?
good.
It's
So I'm
not going
sure,
to place. So
what it is. Like I
there's
said,
two
I don't know
separate
what it
lens
is.
flares.
I've been taking a lot of pictures throughout the years trying to catch something. You know what I'm saying? And I've caught this.
I'm amazed
and,
that it's there, but
you know,
it's there.
I'm not
It's
professional photography or nothing. You know what I'm saying?
I've been doing this for a long time, taking a lot of pictures.
Could it be the
I've been looking for this thing for a long time.
I reckon a flare.
Finally, I got this new job where I'm welding, and I got this welding lens.
I've took these pictures before. Lens flares always move. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You can always see them moving.
Well, my thing is if you have this mask on, or you got using this mask, the mask would be moving. So why wouldn't that?
No, I just got the piece of glass that goes in the mask.
Oh, okay.
It's a 2x4 piece of welding glass.
You can get
that goes in a helmet. I just got that piece of glass. I take that piece of glass to stick up to the back of my phone.
To you to explain the pictures that you showed.
Okay, yeah, but my point is that solid object that's not moving, or looks to be a solid, that bright object below the sun. You would think that, like some people are saying that the welding glass itself is causing that. And I disagree because I think.
I mean, wouldn't it move?
That's what I'm thinking. Wouldn't it move? Yeah.
Hello, Mr. Vara. I was going to make this video for you just to show you.
It's kind of a different spot
there.
You
see that?
Always to that
See how they
side,
both move? There's
and right
two of
there in
them.
that spot. Now, in or out,
Whatever's beside the sun is there. And it does not move. A lens flare would
that's
move.
That's the only way it
so
moves is in or out.
Just want to kind of take this
like
video
I said,
to show
like
you
5 o'clock,
what
if
I'm
I do
getting
it,
and what's happening.
You got to zoom in to see
when
it
I
because
do
the sun's
get it,
brightness
now I'm
blocks it out.
zoomed in.
Now when it gets
So let
down
me
over
zoom
the
out
horizon,
so I can show you what it
and I
looks like
take those,
zoomed
I
out.
can just
Here we
take
go,
them.
zooming out.
And it's
And
there.
there's what we got zoomed out.
And
So,
shouldn't it be there? I mean, if it was the welding lens doing it, shouldn't it be there the whole
whatever
time?
it is
like
stationary
12 o'clock
there.
in the
You know
afternoon
what I'm
when the
saying?
sun's
It's
right
not
above
going
you,
in
you can't
place.
see it. Not at all. You can't get it zooming in or out. You can't get it. So,
My friend, I agree with you, and that's why, there's been a lot of
amazed
people who sent me
it's there,
pictures.
but it's
I
there.
think you're
It's
probably
gotta
the
be
first
there.
one
You
who
know,
sent me
there's
pictures that I've actually
I've been doing this for
invited
a
to
long
come on
time,
and
taking
talk
a lot
about it
of
for a few
pictures,
minutes
so.
because,
I've been looking for this thing for
I
a long
like what
time.
you sent. I mean, what it
Finally,
is,
I
I
got
don't
this
know.
new job on
David,
welding,
what
and I got this
should we
welding
be seeing? I mean, is
so-
it possible? Let's ask David. What about getting?
Can David see
the
it?
sun down, so
David can't see it, can he?
I mean, it's really close to
Unfortunately,
it.
I'm not online. I'm sorry about
Sometimes
that.
you can't
That's
even see
okay.
it when
Well,
you
I'll
zoom
send
out,
you
just
some.
peer into the
I'll
sun.
send
It's
an
'cause it's so
email
bright,
to you
so.
though. But I'll
There you
explain
go.
what we're seeing.
I mean, you can show
well, let
this
me
to
ask you
whoever
this:
or whatever. I don't care
what
you
about
do.
using the welder's mask on the
Robert,
cell phone?
you can
though?
give
What
him
do
my
you think about
information.
that?
He can call me, email me, whatever he wants to do.
In other words, what
I'd
could
like to
create
talk to you
sun
to
dogs or
explain the
whatever? Is that
pictures
what
that
you're
you
asking?
showed. The first couple ones I said were lens flares. Those were actually pictures of it going behind the clouds.
Like an airline window.
Is what that was. I was trying to show that, but I don't think you got it. So
you got to see
just let
this
you know.
because you can
So,
see the
I'll send
lens
this to
flares
you,
are
and
moving. They're
you have a
like
good day.
wow, moving all around. But then there's this other object below the sun that it's not going anywhere. So
and it's
hello,
always, it's
Mr.
always in
Vara.
that position.
I was going to make this
and like
video
I said,
for
the
you
only way
just to
it
show
moves
you.
is like
You can see
in
the
or
lens
out
flare
from that
there.
same
See
position. It
that?
never moves up or down or anything.
See how they both move? There's
but
two
like
of them.
I said, further out in the day I go,
Whatever's
like
beside the sun
when the sun goes
is
down,
there,
the more obvious
and
it is.
does not
you know what I'm saying?
move.
You can't,
A
like
lens
I
flare
said,
would
5
move,
o'clock,
so
you can't see it because the sun
just
blurs
wanted
it.
to kind of take this
it's
video
so
to show
bright,
you what I'm
you
getting
can't see it, but then
you know
once you
what's
zoom in
happening.
at that, you can
When I
see
do
it then,
get
but
it,
once you
now
zoom
I'm
in, you
zoomed
can see it.
in, so let me zoom out
you
here so I
can't.
can
And
show
then
you
when
what
it
it looks like
moves
zoomed
down
out.
further on the horizon,
Here we go,
it
I'm
starts
zooming out.
getting,
And there's what we
more
got
noticeable
zoomed out.
that way. So I'm not, well, I will send you these pictures. I said,
whatever it is, it's stationary there. You know what I'm saying? It's not going in place.
I've listened to the show for probably about 3
two
weeks
separate
now,
lens
and
flares.
heard all the Planet X guests you've had,
it's
I figured,
I don't know. I mean,
somebody should be able to tell me if that's, real or, if it is the lens. Because I'm not using the mask. The mask is, it's at the shop at my work. He won't let me take that, but I've got that piece of glass. And that's all it is, that piece of glass.
Okay. What do you think of that, David?
Well, did you see it with your naked eye as well?
No, you cannot see it with your naked eye. And not even if you hold the the welding lens up there, you still can't see it with your naked eye.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I'm not going to sit here and, tell y'all, anything that, I'm not going to lie to nobody. I'm honest, you know what I'm saying? I've always been like that. And, but yeah, I tried that. I took it away from the phone and held it up and looked at it, and no, you can't see it. But and another thing, when you don't take it, when you hold it up like that, it's a perfectly round circle when I look through it through my eyes. But when I look at it through the phone, the sun's not a perfect circle like it is when I look through the lens with just my eyes. So, I mean, I don't know if that,
Okay.
Well, you get what I'm saying? Yeah. It's a perfect circle when I look through with my eyes. But when I do this with the phone, take the pictures, or I took a video because I wanted to show how it's it don't move, because Robert Pepino seen it and he said that he thought it was real. So I mean, I didn't know.
Well, I will send it to, you know what I'm going to do, Thomas? I'm going to send it to every Planet X person that I can still have contact with that's been on this show. I'm going to let them all look at it, and I'm going to get their opinions, and I'll let you know what I get back from them all, and we'll do a roundtable one night. You could come on with us, and myself, Robert, and whoever else wants to join, and we'll talk about these pictures and these videos. I wish more people would send stuff in, but do it like you have. I mean, you've been consistent, and I appreciate it.
Right. Hey, the one y'all showed the other night, or the one you and Robert was talking about with the wings beside it. Now, when I sent you that, I sent you that because of the green orb that was above it. I thought that was a lens flare, but Robert, when y'all zoomed in on it, I never noticed those specks down there, but there is like 4 or 5 things around that right there. I thought it was just a lens flare, you know what I'm saying? I sent that to you because of the green orb that was over top of it. You know what I'm talking about? The one y'all were discussing? Yeah. I just sent that in because of the green orb. I thought that was a sun flare, but, you know, I've been looking at the pictures I've been taking, and none of the other sun flares look like that in any of the pictures, because I got a lot of color pictures, too. You know, they're not all through the welding lens. And one day through the welding lens, though, I did catch this. It was like a black speck, and it was going across the sun. And I couldn't figure out what it was, and I'm like, what is that? So
it could have been. It could have been a planet or something, you know, orbiting.
Oh, no. This was like tiny. It was like, it almost looked like maybe it was like a rectangular shape, and it moves across the sun. I snapped a couple pictures of it, and then the whatever that thing is was there, and it looked like it got bigger, and it looked like it was doing something. I don't know. It was just really weird. You got the pictures. It's a set of 4 that's on Facebook together. If you look in real close at the sun in those pictures, you'll see what I'm talking about. And like at first, it was just like small and black, and it went across the sun. And then once it got over to the other side, it kind of, I don't know what it did. It was, you know, it got a little bit bigger, and it looked like it was going to fly into whatever the thing is in the pictures and in the video there. But you know, you need to take a look at that, because I know I know y'all talk about everything on the show. So, you know, it kind of looked like something flew across, like a UFO or something flew across, and then kind of like docked with this thing or something that was sitting in front of it. If you go back and look at those 4 pictures, they're on Facebook, and they're all 4 together in a square.
Wow.
Zoom in on those pictures and look at that, and that's a pretty neat thing there too, I thought.
Well, Thomas, listen, keep sending me what you get, and I'll keep looking at it. I get your stuff on Facebook and in my email, so I see it all. And if something's a little too big, just go ahead and do it on Skype, and I'll get it. And I thank you so much, man.
All right, Michael. Well, thank you. And David, you have a good night. Michael, you have a good night, and y'all keep up the good work.
All right, you too, my friend. Thank you. See, it's people like that who keep the show interesting. I mean, they participate, they get involved. They say, well, let's see if we can find it. And well, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But hey, at least he's trying. At least he's putting forth an effort. And so, David, I've got questions in the chat room that I'd like to get to here with you. We'll get to a couple of them. And sorry that so many of the calls have been, you know, they've had a lot to say, but I really want you to see his video and get your opinion on it. When I get a chance, I'll send it. All right. So
thank you.
We did the Florida question. We did that question. Okay, here we go. This one's from Ryan. Is there any life on Planet X? So, yeah, that's a good question. We've heard in the past that there's going to be Anunnaki on Nibiru and Planet X. So what do you think? Any life?
Well, yeah. I mean, I've read, the articles or books that indicate that there is. I personally tend to disbelieve that. I don't believe there's that much intelligent life in the universe, to be honest, except on Earth, of course. But I just don't think we've had any evidence of it existing yet. You know, NASA's done all kinds of probes and launched all kinds of spacecraft trying to find intelligent life, and so I just, they've got a near-Earth objects program, but it's got such a major deficit funding, they can't find 85% of the near-Earth asteroids. So maybe they can't find intelligent life either. So I tend to doubt that.
Okay, and folks in the YouTube chat, I see some people are asking about slow mode. I think it's on like 3 seconds because it prevents people from flooding the chat. And if that's a problem, my moderators will let me know, and we'll change it at some point. But anyways, moving right along. Our next question. Given the fact that the majority of the East Coast is located with the majority of nuclear plants, oh God it is, in the entire United States, is there really a safe place on the East Coast? And I'll even throw on top of that, is there really a safe place anywhere in the world when you factor in these nuclear power plants around the globe even? And I mean, you get something like this, those suckers are melting down.
Yes, exactly. What's going to happen is when Planet X arrives, that will create an event that occurs on the surface of the sun that releases a tremendous amount of energy, a Carrington type of solar flare, a coronal mass ejection. This is an explosive burst of electrified plasma that has a mass probably that will exceed Mount Everest. And this will bring down the electrical grid. So, gas pumps won't be functioning, food transportation will stop, 911 function on your phone isn't going to work. And until new transformers can be built or imported, society will be in chaos. And also you'll have meltdowns. And within about a week, you'll have many Armageddons occurring at each one of these 400 nuclear power plants, mostly in the Northeast Corridor. So I wouldn't want to be closer than 100 miles to one of those. I'd want to avoid that area with my strategic relocation plan. There's not too many of those out west, but certainly in the Northeast Corridor, it's highly dangerous.
But I think it wouldn't take, but I mean, look, Fukushima right now is causing enough problems. Imagine, 5 or 6 of those on the planet at one time. I don't know if I'd want to be anywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be.
Fukushima's almost, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Fukushima has just about destroyed the Pacific Ocean, and it still continues. So these are highly dangerous events that we're looking at once the electrical power grid is down, and you have those spent fuel rods, and that's it. Unfortunately, Congress has never authorized the replacement or hardening of the civilian electric grid. It would cost, some estimate, as little as $30 billion. And but nobody the taxpayers don't seem to be aware of it. The Congress has had several EMP commissions report to them on the threat and the risk, but nothing's ever happened. So it's made of Chinese parts. A lot of them are cheap, and it's crazy. I just, we spent all this money in the Middle East on wars, and we haven't hardened our own infrastructure. Very strange.
Well, yeah, it is. I mean, we've got nuclear power plants here in the United States that are identical to what is in Fukushima, and we're just as moronic because we put them on fault lines. And so they're talking about there's 8 volcanoes right now that they're keeping an eye on in California alone. And in the fault line, they're saying this is overdue. Charleston, South Carolina, big fault line. It's way overdue. So at some point, these earthquakes are going to start happening. And these things, these power plants, death traps, I call them, they will come down. And it's going to be a real problem.
Precisely. They represent a major risk, and I would avoid them at all cost.
All right, let's go to another question here. What kinds of signs can we watch for anywhere in the United States so we know that the possible shift is close? Earthquakes on the West Coast, ? Or other areas in size of the quake. So what will be some of the signs we should expect to see in the upcoming months?
Well, your first sign or indication of a solar flare will be problems with the communication satellites, because these gamma rays and X-rays travel at the speed of light. They will hit the stratosphere, the upper atmosphere, in 7 to 8 minutes. They will knock out a lot of the communication satellites, GPS, and so forth. So if you're really watching and you see some problems along these lines, you may realize before anybody else that a major solar flare is on its way. And you should have 24 to 36 hours notice to do something. And I would go to the nearest general store, and I would clean out their shelves in terms of food and water supplies for at least 30 to 90 days, when that happens.
And I'm
so
sure
I would say that's going to be one indication.
Okay, and and one of the other things, this I've always said, keep an eye on the animals. And I don't know if it'll be too late once you see the animals go nuts for something like Planet X. But I always say, as far as earthquakes and stuff go, keep an eye on the animals, because, they'll let you know something ain't right before it even happens. But now, they're coming out, even with this eclipse, they're saying that the animals will act differently because of the eclipse, and this is mainstream putting this stuff out, saying that they're gonna double up on rattle or on snake bite venom and stuff here, because I don't know, the animals are gonna get, so what, I don't know if they're gonna think it's nighttime for a minute and start biting everybody or what they expect, but I don't know. Anyways, I'll move on to the next question. Please ask your guest this. I'm in Arizona. Is this a safe place from both the water rise and the Yellowstone eruption? I think you kind of just covered that with a call that we had. But like Arizona, what about the East Coast? Now, I've seen maps where South Carolina, most of it's gone, but there's actually the upper section is still there. Is any of it going to be there? Or what can we expect? I've also seen, I don't know if you've seen this, but Robert Pepino opened my eyes to this. If you watch some of the old movies, the black and white movies, and you can see they've always got these maps in the background. And one of the maps, I got a picture of it, but I don't have it up tonight. But it shows most of the East Coast gone. And it's like they put these maps in movies, and I kind of wonder why. But what do you think about that? What Arizona he asked about, but what about the East Coast and New York, places like that?
Well, as you say, maps and movies are giving us fair warning. Now, in terms of the elevation of any particular location, I would suggest anybody living in any state that they just go to Google Maps and Google their location and find out their elevation above sea level. And if you're at least 700-800 feet above sea level, or you can strategically relocate to some place that is, you're probably pretty safe. If you're at least a couple hundred miles inland from the coast, you're probably pretty safe. If you're at least 100 miles distant from any nuclear power plant, you're probably pretty safe. So it just every individual person will have to Google or study their own location. But it's, as you say, it's very hard to generalize. And if you want to generalize, you can generalize about California, one of the worst states to be in. Awful. You know, you've got all kinds of tectonic movement out there. You've got major fault lines running through every major city. You're going to have volcanic eruptions out there. You're going to have major forest fires. California is going to be a total disaster zone. So that's one state you can generalize about and say, you know, if you happen to live there, just be sure to be away.
Oh, yeah. If you're a thrill seeker, then you might love California, because there'll be a lot to be, if you're one of those people who like to cheat death, well, that'll be the place maybe, because it's already crazy. And then with the fault lines, and I mean, me, myself, I don't know. I got a little taste of a very small earthquake here in South Carolina. It was a 4.3 or 4.4. And it was only for a few seconds, and I mean, and before I didn't even know what it was until afterwards. I mean, I just seen everything shake and thought maybe a train went off the track or something. But I can imagine a 7 or an 8 or even a 9. I would not want to be any part of that.
Right, and back in the 70s, they changed the Richter scale. They changed it by 1 decimal spot. So really, if you get a 6.0 now, it used to be a 7. So
yeah.
They've reduced it by visibility, but these are very severe.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And like I said, a little one I was in, I was just taking a break on my show, and I felt a little, almost like you'd feel with if your dryer or your washer's not balanced and it shakes the floor. You know, something like that. It felt like at first. I see my chandelier moving. I hear all the dishes in the cabinet rattling, and I'm thinking. Then it clicked, and I said, "Oh hell, I think we're having an earthquake." But at that point, it stopped, thankfully. And that right there told me I would never. I mean, my God, you want to talk about hugging trees? I'd be a tree hugger. I want nothing to do with one of those earthquakes. They're horrible. I don't know. I don't know how some of them that last long. I don't know how people don't die of heart attacks and something like that. Probably a lot of people do. All right.
Yeah, and one other admonition, you don't want to be in a big city. You don't want to be in New York City, Chicago, or L.A. when this happens. You want to be in a more rural area.
All right, and next question. Has Michael Vara ever interviewed David Icke? Yes, I have, and it's in the archives. Go ahead and have at it. The next question, Skywalker asks, the fact that Nibiru is on a counterclockwise orbit, eclipse is coming in from the west. Is this Nibiru? Fact, moon rises from the east, sets in west. Is this Nibiru, not the moon?
I don't quite understand the question.
Well,
honestly.
I think what they're asking is, could this eclipse, instead of not being a moon, but be Nibiru going by the sun and blocking it?
Oh, no. You mean the Great American Eclipse of the 21st? No, that's a real eclipse. That's our moon eclipsing the sun, and that's definitely the local solar system right there.
Okay. Hey, yeah, and see, I appreciate this now. Hey, I could probably name a couple guys out there who would say, oh, yeah, that's absolutely part of it. But yeah, so I appreciate you keeping it real. Next question. How does Project Bluebeam factor into what is seen in the skies?
Well, yeah, they've got all kinds of coded projects. Bluebeam is one of them. And I don't recall the exact nature of what the hypothesis behind that is, but supposedly it's a holographic projection of one sort or the other, and different people have different opinions on what the holographic projection will be of. I don't think Planet X is going to be a holographic projection scenario. It's going to be a real scenario. It's going to have real events in real time and affect us in a real way. So, but the Pentagon has all kinds of crazy programs, and the Defense Intelligence Agency runs a lot of them for the CIA. And you've probably got maybe at the top 40, 50 people in NASA that even know about Nibiru, Planet X. The rest are not on a need-to-know basis. And so they have plausible deniability. They can say, we don't know anything, and they really don't. And that's how the government works. So, it's just they compartmentalize everything. If the very top compartmentalized intelligence classifications, are known by maybe 30 to 50 people in the entire government, and you've got 1 million or more people with the intelligence agencies, the 17 intelligence agencies. So they can compartmentalize this information so that there is just no public knowledge, whatsoever.
And while I want to know about it, right, I still understand why it would be compartmentalized and kept under wraps in a way that only so many are privy to this information. I mean, I say this all the time. You look at Black Friday. And look how people act when they want to get the last TV or the last microwave oven. Can you imagine telling them that they're in their last days? They would be absolute. They'd raid the stores. It'd be crazy. It would be absolute crazy. It'd be hell on earth, I think.
Exactly. So this is a very dangerous thing that I'm doing and that other people are doing. Because, it involves a lot of, you might call it secret knowledge. It involves a lot of years of research, thousands of hours of research. It involves taking a chance because you're being monitored. This is a very strange area we're in. Of course, you have the rewards of royalties and so forth, and you get to talk to a lot of people. But on the other hand, it's a very unique, once-in-a-lifetime event we're about to experience. And like I say, all normalcy bias is about to, I believe, go out the window.
Okay. Well, I hope you're not right, but you could be. So Open Ears has a question here. Open Ears asks, Michael, can you ask the guest if Major Ed Dames' kill shot theory is really about Planet X and he did not want to relate it to Planet X since he was in the military? What do you think of Major Ed Dames and his kill shot theory?
Oh, absolutely. By the way, very strangely, his last seminar that he's doing, and then he's just ending everything, happens to be this September 23rd. So that's interesting right there. That coincides with what we've been talking about this fall. So he may know something more than he's releasing. He hasn't released dates, but I believe he's basically retiring next month. So that may tell you something right there. Yeah, what this kill shot is basically going to be a solar flare from the sun. Something has to cause it, and I believe it's Planet X, the close approach of Planet X, 14, 15 million miles between us and the sun. And I believe that's the normal and supposed and hypothetical and real causative factor of what he saw in this remote viewing project. Because what he saw was basically the end of life as we know it here on the Earth. He said they couldn't get past a certain year. He said he didn't know what it was. He didn't know if it was nuclear war or what it was, but they finally determined that it was a solar flare that had knocked out half or more of the Earth's electrical grid, and they didn't know why it happened. And this is what ended life as we know it on planet Earth. Didn't end the life itself. The Earth will continue to go on with people on it, but ended life as we know it.
And so Major Ed Dames has said that after the September 23rd, whatever he's doing, that's it. He's actually not going to be writing books or doing radio or any of that no more.
Well, I've looked at his website. That appears to be the very final date of any of his public appearances. So it's very strange. I can't speak for him, but he apparently is retiring.
Well, he either knows something that the rest of us maybe don't, or he is a real good salesman. I'm not saying he is. I'm just saying, so there's either something to it, or boy, he put a hell of a pitch on it. Anyways. Well, listen, we've got to take our last break here tonight, David, so let's do that. And then we'll come back. I'll take final questions from the listeners, whether it be from chat or phone call. Matter of fact, I'll put the call-in number up now, seeing that we've cleared the lines. And if anybody wants to call in, you may. It's up there on screen. I'll give you the call-in number when I return. It's also on our website. So, folks, with that, and keep in mind with the website, it's still a work in progress, folks. It's a slow work in progress, but we're getting to it. When there's time, we're making some changes on it, and so I think right now there's one number is on there. We'll get them both up though. Anyways, this is Late Night in the Midlands. I'm Michael Vara. Some of you I will have to mute because of the copyright deal with YouTube and Facebook. So hang in there with us.
During the live shows, the hosts will even visit the chat room and chat with you, the listener. Click on the big red Chat and Listen button at the top of the website and join us. No subscription is needed. at either lnmradionetwork.com or latenightinthemidlands.com.
Brad Olson is an award-winning author and researcher and has spent multiple years proving his works. His books have reached a wide audience across the country and around the world and have won numerous awards. He has appeared on dozens of television and nationally syndicated radio shows over the course of 2 decades. His book, Future Esoteric, goes behind the official story, revealing there is also an alternative narrative. The newly revised second edition includes more images, captions, and information than ever before. Future Esoteric examines the metaphysical nature of reality and the storyline of what is not being told to the mass majority of people. You can find his books at cccpublishing.com or click on one of his many banners on the LNM Radio Network site at lnmradionetwork.com.
Folks, I would like to recommend a great YouTube channel for those of you who can't get enough of Late Night in the Midlands or the truth in general. Try Non-Human Entities. Non-Human Entities supports LNM, and LNM would like you all to support them by going to visit Non-Human Entities on YouTube. That's Non-Human Entities on YouTube, or just click the banner on the LNM Radio Network website that says Non-Human Entities. LNM Radio has joined with the Hardened Structures team to provide state-of-the-art survival shelter design and build services at LNM Radio exclusive rates. Hardened Structures, with over 21 years experience in military, commercial, and private shelter design, build services, are also offering LNM Radio listeners a free consolation, normally a $500 value. So click on the Hardened Structures banner on the right-hand side of LateNightInTheMidlands.com to receive your special offer today. Do you find yourself stuck to the TV watching fake news, fake drug commercials, and fake reality shows? Do you live a fake life because of the fake programming, brainwashing you every second of every minute you spend in a trance, uploading the most damaging and most mind-controlling information with an upload speed never before tested by the human brain, therefore turning your brain to pure mush and leaving you for not only stupid and uninformed, but dead if they get their way? You gotta slow your roll, baby, and get with the program. The Late Night in the Midlands program. We are antivirus and anti-malware for the mind, traveling from LNM to your brain, and from your brain to your mind, and from your mind to your body, and from your body to your cravings. Your cravings for more truth and less BS. Late Night in the Midlands, turning off the fake, turning on the light. www.latenightinthemidlands.com. Your first defense against fake news.
Ask 10 different scientists about the environment, population control, genetics, and you'll get 10 different answers. But there's one thing every scientist on the planet agrees on. Whether it happens in 100 years, or 1,000 years, or 1,000,000 years, eventually our sun will grow cold and go out. When that happens, it won't just take us. It'll take Marilyn Monroe, and Lao Tzu, and Einstein, and Morobuto, and Buddy Holly, and Aristophanes. All of this was for nothing. Unless we go to the stars.
Become a late nighter and subscribe now. LateNightInTheMidlands.com. Exposing the truth, one show at a time. Join us in the LNM chat and get your question directly to the host. From the East Coast of the United States, the capital city, Columbia, South Carolina, you're listening to Late Night in the Midlands with your host, Michael Vara. To call in, dial 803-339-2559 or 803-392-4566. To reach us on Skype, just use Skype ID LNM Radio.
is coming our way, and and I hear prepare. And all I could say is, and we're going to get a call out of Michigan here in just a couple minutes and get back to our guest. But, all I hear is about how you should be prepared, and you should. Food, water, prepare, because that's going to help you in a lot of things, a lot of different scenarios. But Planet X, I'm not so sure about that. I think when something like that comes, you better worry about the nuclear fallout, I think. But, David, we are back. And anything you want to get out there before we take the next call? I mean, you got, first off, your book. Where can people get their hands on that?
Right. The book, Planet X, The 2017 Arrival by David Meade, is available as an ebook, a print book, and an audio book on Amazon.com, at BarnesandNoble.com. It's available in about 10 English-speaking countries, including, of course, the United States and Canada. And you just have to go online and enter the Google or Bing Planet X, The 2017 Arrival by David Meade, and you'll see all kinds of first-page results to my website, to my videos, and to your videos, and also to the book on Amazon and Barnes & Noble.
All right. So with that, let's take the next call here. Michigan 586 area code. You're up next. Who we got?
This is Michael calling from outside Detroit.
Hey, welcome aboard, Michael.
How you doing, Michael?
Good.
I have a couple of questions for your guest, David.
Okay.
And during this upcoming solar eclipse we got coming up here, right? There's going to be a lot of eyes watching this thing. My first question is the government planning on obstructing this vision with chemtrailing, or, as they say, a couple of jets are going to be flying by with this thing?
Well, no, I don't think so. I think the eclipse is just going to be a non-government related phenomenon. But it's a good point that you made. Project Indigo, Skyfold, has been going on for years, and I think they tell these Air Force flyers, we're just reducing UV exposure to the population or whatever. But there's a big difference between contrails and chemtrails. And contrails, of course, are jet commercial aircraft produced, and they dissipate. Chemtrails don't. They're composed of barium, strontium, other elements, and they're used to cloud the sky at sunrise and sunset so that you cannot see from the ground, you cannot see or photograph anything related to this system. And it's been very prevalent, and it's a major sign. It's a major red light. The Planet X is real, because why else would they be doing this? It really doesn't make any sense.
Correct. And my second question would be, when this eclipse does appear, are we going to be seeing unidentified planets and solar bodies in our skies?
Well, yeah, what you'll be able to see, and as Michael mentioned earlier, it'll be very strange, because as soon as it goes dark in that 70-mile path from Oregon to South Carolina, if you're in that path, what's going to happen is it's going to be daytime, and 1 second later, first of all, you're going to see birds singing in the sun, and then 1 second later, you're going to hear crickets chirping, and everything's going to be totally nighttime. You're going to be able to see the stars and the constellations, and it'll be a very bizarre phenomenon. And
that's going to be wild.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I say that's going to be wild. I'm here in Columbia, South Carolina, so I'm hoping we don't wind up with some cloudy, miserable day. And but anyways, go ahead. It's going to be interesting, I think.
Right, because it'll be all filmed and everything, but wherever it's being filmed at, you will see celestial bodies in the sky if these things are in front of the sun, correct?
Right, you're going to be able to see the constellations for a period of about 3 minutes. It's going to be like nighttime. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, we'll see if this thing's for real when the eclipse happens then, and then we'll call one way or the other whether or not this thing is legit or not.
Oh, okay.
So
well,
I appreciate everything you do. It's good knowledge to know, but it's time to know whether this thing is actually going to happen or whether it's not going to happen.
All right. Well, Michael, thank you for your call.
All right, keep up the good work.
All right, you too, my friend. I have a feeling your Detroit Lions are going to be a heck of a lot better than my Buffalo Bills this year. So, yeah, David, because of the eclipse, will I be able to see Planet X now?
No. Planet X will not be apparent until October.
Oh, so it's not nowhere where... Well, then, how are people getting photos of this thing?
They're statistical anomalies. These, Melissa Huffman did the video down here on Sanibel Island, been seen by over 1 million people. She actually has a video of Planet X. It's on YouTube. I've done an analysis on my website, or I've got a video analysis on my website of a ex-college professor from California flying at 25,000 feet down the west coast of South America, and he took a picture of Nibiru, and it's winged, which means it's closer than Mars. So these things are just pure anomalies. They do not happen by scientific anything scientific other than statistics. So they just happen by chance. Unless you've got a professional observatory under your control, such as the Vatican or the South Pole Telescope, you can't go out and get a guaranteed sighting of this. But some of these people just happen to be in the right place at the right time, and maybe your person was too.
Well, yeah, it could be. It's just, I'm always asking people how they get photos, and then, I try to duplicate it myself if I can. Now, I remember, about 5 or 6 years ago, it might have been actually it was longer than that, about 8 years ago now. I was driving in the morning time here in South Carolina, where I am. The interstate, when you're going, it's like you can see the sun's huge, and it comes up like it's coming right out of the interstate. And I remember pulling over and using the welder mask, trying to see what I could see. And at that time, I wasn't getting anything. But now people are, so it's time to get the welder's mask back out and see what I could find. But I want to do better than that. I want to go to an observatory, and I want to do like you said. I mean, give me some coordinates, and then let me go ahead and see this thing. And that's what I really want. I want to see it. And so, and you got video, and I'm a little jealous of that.
An average person, you're right, it's tough. You can't guarantee to an average person at a certain time or place you will see anything. I don't have a friend who's a commercial airline pilot, and he's flown out of Philadelphia and Washington National and flown south from there, and he's seen it 7 times recently. Went right after takeoff, usually within 10 minutes of takeoff, when he gets some altitude, and when the sun is rising, right at sunrise. That's the only time he can see it. And he mentions to the co-pilot and so forth, he says, well, look at that. And they just say, well, whatever. They're very conservative. They're like bankers. They're not going to say anything. They don't want to ruffle any feathers. But, you generally can see it from altitude. You can see it at sunrise if you happen to be at the right place at the right time.
Well, yeah, and I could see where, a pilot and even an average person, if, like me, I mean, I'll see a video or a picture and I'll say, okay, I agree with you. There's something there. But then I'm no professional. I don't know what it is. So I want to, hand it over to somebody who knows the constellations really well, knows what we should be seeing in the sky at that time of the day, that day of the week, somebody who's good with that stuff, and let them look and say, well, no, Michael, I can't account for that. They're here's Mars, here's Jupiter, here's this. I don't know what that is. And that's what I want. That's the kind of evidence I'm looking for.
Right. If you check my website, you'll see a couple videos that go through some photographic analysis. By the way, just to update you on Major Ed Dames, here's his most recent statements.
Okay.
He says the secret to surviving the kill shot is to be away from cities. Fresh water is a key. He says that the western Pacific coast will become sterile. Mass movement of people in this area will move inland. In earthquake zones, things will be horrific. Multiple solar flares will damage our grid. Massive weather changes. And he says the U.S. Northeast will not be an area that survives, mainly because of the nuclear power plants failing.
That's the part that I don't like. I mean, all this preparation, and there's people who say, hey, we've got underground bunkers, and I mean, I even have a company, Hardened Structures, that we plug, and I gotta say, in 8 years that I've been plugging them on this show occasionally, I've never had one sell. And you know what? I'm not a salesman for them, and I'm not trying to get them sold. If I was, I'd be saying, because you get a commission if someone buys. But, you know, I'd be here saying, yep, we're definitely all going to die. You better get one. But I'm not doing that because, folks, I try to keep it real. And you want to keep it real? Here's keeping it real. If you do get one of those underground bunkers and you're in it, you might as well plan on staying in it until the day you die, because there's going to be nothing to come up to. It's going to be all radiation and I mean, at least for a long time, I don't see any good living up on the surface of this planet if something like this happens. Do you?
Right. Well, you know, I know an ex-NASA guy that moved to Arizona, and he built a geodesic dome home, which is about as safe as you can get on the surface. So that may tell you something right there, both the location and the type of housing. I think there's a high danger risk. I think these people are crazy in the government that have built these deep underground military bases, because there's going to be force 12 earthquakes. And there's going to be new tectonic plates developing all the time that are in crisis mode. And I don't believe a lot of them are going to ever get out of them.
Oh, well, yeah, I'm with you on that. It's, you know, people, what are you doing now last to prepare? And some people, because I do shows on this, I think they've envisioned that I have like this underground bunker below my house, and it's loaded with groceries. And folks, I'm telling you, I'm like, for me, when it's time, I'm going to put out the lounge chair in the yard, put on my best sunglasses, and probably just puff a fat one and say, hey, here it is, it's over with. You know, why run and hide? I mean, it's if I'm supposed to survive, then the good Lord will make sure I am in the right place at the right time. So I put it, that's where my faith goes. I put it all in God's hands.
Good way to look at it. Good way.
Yeah, I guess the best way. What else can you do? You could panic. But why panic? I mean, I believe there's an afterlife, so hey, I choose not to be destroyed by some Planet X, but if that's what's got to happen, then hey, then I'll broadcast during it until we get cut off. David, unless any other questions or calls come in, I want to, in the meantime, I want to give you the floor to get out anything that you'd like. Websites, appearances, conferences, whatever you got, and any other information or evidence you could direct us to, I would be thrilled to hear it. And so I give you the floor, my friend.
Sure. Well, I'll talk about one very interesting topic for just a minute or less, and then I'll just again re-mention some of my contact information. When I was interviewed by the people from Los Angeles with DirecTV, they asked me about 50 questions, and there was only one of them I could not answer, and I researched it later. And one of those questions they asked me was, what about the sign of Jonah and Planet X? And I said, I have no idea what you're talking about. And he said, turn the camera off. And then he told me his theory on it. And he had an interesting theory, but I did some research, and I found an even more interesting theory. And here's what I found. You know, there's the well-known Blood Moons pastor, Mark Blitz, that he talked about the Nineveh eclipses and the sign of Jonah to draw attention to the 40-day period to the run-up to Yom Kippur. Okay, that's what DirecTV talked to me about. And I said, well, yeah, that is interesting, but it's I don't know if that's the sign of Jonah. But then I did some research. And the ancient city of Nineveh, back in 765 BC, there was a major plague that hit that city. This is historical records. The king couldn't even operate his army. And then in 763 BC, a total solar eclipse crossed just above the city. Now, Jewish tradition, Jewish rabbis view a solar eclipse as an omen or harbinger of crisis for Gentile nations, like we're having August 21st. Jewish tradition considers the lunar eclipse or blood moon to be a harbinger or omen of crisis for Israel. And so, anyway, on August 21st, 763 BC, the prophet Jonah arrived in the city of Nineveh, and he said, you're going to be destroyed in 40 days. But that generation repented, and I think the reason they did is they were scared to death. They'd just been hit with a major plague and just seen a major solar eclipse.
Well,
and what do you think about that?
Well, David, I'll say that's great, but unfortunately, I don't see this civilization repenting. Not everybody. Let's face it. You look at this world. 7 billion people. I don't know how many do we need to turn this around.
I agree. I think this generation is clueless. I think this generation doesn't even want the chance. That generation knew what signs were about. It knew things. Those old timers knew stuff. This generation is absolutely clueless. So I would say that the ruins of Nineveh today lie within the city limits of Mosul in Iraq, and that sign of Jonah may be occurring on August 21st, and it may be a harbinger for Gentile nations, of which the U.S. is the major one. So, and then when it crosses another eclipse 7 years later, it forms an X over the United States. It intersects near Carbondale, Illinois, which is known as Little Egypt. So you do have an Egyptian-type mentality in this country. You don't have, they kicked out prayer in the Bible from classrooms and public places, 50 years ago. Now you've got more or less an Egyptian culture in this country. So it's very bizarre. I think it's very prophetic. And 33 days after this eclipse is September 23rd. And 33 is a very prophetic number. So here we go. I don't know what's going to happen. To give you a little more contact information, I can be reached at David Meade, MEADE 7777 at gmail.com. My address is writerswebservices.com, and my books are on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, and also on Kobo and some international platforms if you're in Canada or England. And so stay in touch, buy the book. I think the key to everything is knowledge and preparation, and that's what Major Ed Dames says. And non-paradigm thinking has to accompany our preparations. We are at 1 minute to midnight.
All right, and and you're talking about kicking God out of the public places. It's like the schools. They've kicked God out of the schools, but they want to hand out condoms to the kids. It's. I mean, this is the type of society we've got now. I mean, you think about it. I mean, we've got a lot of the people who are just brain dead today. They grew up 8 years under Obama. Before that, you had Bush. Bush told everybody, see, you don't need to have good grades in school to become president. I'll never forget when he said that. So, I mean, they've not had really good role models at president, have they? So...
No. The last 4 or 5 presidents have been disasters. I totally agree.
Yeah. Well, listen, David, I thank you so much for being here tonight, and keep up the good work. And if any new developments come up, anything at all, please email me, and even if it's a 30-minute report or a 5-minute report or a 2-hour show, get a hold of me, and we'll set it up.
Sounds good. I appreciate it. Have a good evening.
All right. You too, my friend. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, folks. There he goes. David Meade, and the website www.planetxnews.com. And you'll see he writes articles there, and he's done a lot of research in the way of Planet X. And, folks, you either take it or you leave it. It's up to you. But me, I choose to balance in the middle and say, I'm not going to throw any of it out, because while it's not been proven that it's in my sky right now and going to hit me, so anytime soon, I've not seen solid evidence for that. I've not seen solid evidence that it's not true. And you know what? I don't think you ever get evidence that it's not true, because I believe there's something to it. And, that's why we do these shows. We're trying to get to whatever it is that will get us to it. So anyways, he's linked up on LateNightInTheMidlands.com. You can find him there. We've got a few minutes left here, and so I guess I could talk about whatever I like. And one of the things I do want to touch on is the old my Buffalo Bills. It was brought up. I've got to say it now. They've traded away Watkins and the cornerback Darby. And at first I thought it was a horrible move. JB, he's in our chat. He's talking to me about this. So I did think it was a bad move, but you know what? I think there's a method to the madness, and I'm all right with it. You know, I think the last GM overpaid for him anyways, and quite frankly, all these players in sports, professional sports, are overpaid. All of them are. Anyhow, Planet X, folks, I don't know. You know, I've seen really, really good circumstantial evidence. Really good circumstantial evidence. But I have not seen enough. I wouldn't run to the hills anyway. If you told me, if I don't know, if the Pope himself just came to my door, well, probably wouldn't open it. I'd at least tell the kids, get in your room, lock the door, and then maybe I'd answer. But if he had come to the door tonight and says, listen, turn off your mic, Planet X is real and it'll be here in 5 weeks, I wouldn't panic. I'd get together with the people who mattered most to me, and I would spend as much of that time with those people as I could, and that'd be it. I mean, why sweat it? Why go and bust windows and get TVs and get medications from the pharmacies? I mean, all in all, I know I'm just such a black cloud, aren't I? But all in all, something like that happens. Who the hell would want to survive? The only way I'd want to survive is if the mothership landed and said, come with us. And they were going to take me to another planet. I might try that. But this planet would be destroyed for a long, long time. So who the hell would want to live in it anyways? And again, that's it for calls. I'm not going to take any more calls tonight. and excuse me. I dry out quick when I have to talk a lot, but some think, well, Mike took off last night to watch the Bills game. No, I didn't. First off, I couldn't watch it because South Carolina don't run it here. Second off, who wants to watch a preseason game anyways? It's the most boringest. For me, I don't get into the preseason games. I don't watch college football. I'm not a baseball person. I used to be, not no more. It's just a long out, drawn out, boring game for me, baseball. Hockey, there's just too many games. I try to follow a little bit. Ryan likes hockey. Me, the only enjoyment I have in life is my Buffalo Bills. So, and that's not very enjoyable. They lose a lot. 17 years worth of losing. So, it's not easy. But that's what I do on my Sunday. I get together with my son. We play a little fantasy football. We watch the games. What's wrong with that? It's bonding. I think if more fathers did that with their kids, there'd be less kids out there with guns shooting each other. So I don't think it's such a bad idea. Anyways, take a look one more time. I'm going to put this video up. Now, I hope it doesn't make double volume. No, I don't think it is. But check it out. There it is one more time. I think I'm going to have Mr. Skeptic. Oh, yeah. Well, see, people are talking Buffalo Bills with me, folks. And I've got to talk about it. But, I was surprised. I wanted to go to the training camp, too, but I could never get to Rochester in time for that. So, but maybe one of these years, I'd like to get all my boys together and take them. I've got two that are really into football right now. And the rest of them, they don't know it, but they're going to be. So there it is again, folks. I don't know. Use your own judgment. Is it Planet X? I know. I really want to know what people are claiming to see. I want to see it myself. I really want to know. So when this eclipse comes, I hope I'm going to try to record it. And we'll see what happens. But, I hope that ain't it. Hope I'm not getting ready to record an eclipse. And then all of a sudden everything starts shaking and buildings start falling and people start running and screaming. Oh my God, I'll be like, head for the basement, it's Black Friday everywhere. I hope that don't happen. But, I'm going to be honest, folks, for me, again, I'm really not worried about Planet X. I'm not. I don't worry about any of this stuff. I mean, if it happens, it happens. But I don't worry about it. I don't stay up at night. I love my kids. I love my life, and I try to enjoy it. Live it each day like you love it. Don't worry about all that stuff. It is what it is. I mean, I like talking about it. I like the fact that maybe it could be real. Not that I want it to be real. I really don't. But, people are interested in it. And it's my job. If so many people have such an interest in these things, I have to cover it. I mean, if I had no, I'm not even going to say that because nothing would ever get me on the flat earth. I'm not doing it. But Planet X, there's possibility there. So why not? I mean, and so many people think it's actually going to happen. I wonder if what one guest said, we keep thinking it's going to happen, then it's going to happen. I hope we don't make it happen. I hope. Yes, actually, I do. I enjoy my shows. I hope I think other people enjoy it as much as I do. If I didn't enjoy doing this, I wouldn't do it. But I love this. I say all the time, this is it. I mean, I have my dream job. I get to do what I love each and every night. Well, 5 nights a week. Yeah, I'd like, it takes a lot of time, and I wish I had more time to do other things. But I don't, when I get up, I don't go, I got to get ready for that show. I get up and I'm like, woohoo, it's time to get ready for that show. I can't wait to get ready. I can't wait to be on the air. I love doing this. And, I did this most of the time in my career. I've not done video. So, I mean, I could care less. People requested it, so that's why I do it. Otherwise, I wouldn't care. It could be just my voice for all I care. But so I don't do it for a big head. I'm not trying to get famous. I do it because I get to learn every night. Every night I get to do this. I get to learn. I get to talk to amazing people. Every night I get calls from all over the country, all over the world from people. And they tell me about what they think they know or what they know. And I couldn't ask for a better job. I love this. I mean, I wouldn't want to be president. I wouldn't want to be any of that. I wouldn't want to be on Fox or CNN or any of those. I wanted to be, there's one of the best head coaches in the NFL of all time, Marv Levy, said, where else would you rather be than right here, right now? And I echo that. Where else would I rather be than right here, right now? Not a damn place. I'm Michael Vara. This has been a broadcast of Late Night in the Midlands on the LNM Radio Network. Coming up next on LNM, so you got to come over to latenightinthemidlands.com. Coming up next is Duct Tape Nation. Keep your eyes posted to the sky because you never know what you might see, and keep your ears posted to this broadcast because you never know, you just never know what you might learn. And folks, if you got photos, send in the photos. Oh, I always get it right on Friday night. I know all about Duct Tape Nation, Ira. That's one of my favorite shows now. Come on. You know that. So I love Joe. I love Ira. You put those two together and they start analyzing stuff, and oh man, I love it. I'm going to sit back tonight and listen to one of my favorite shows. It's coming up next, Duct Tape Nation. And you're right, I did get it right tonight. I've been off all week, Ira. He's giving me he's giving me a little bit of hell there. I finally got it right. Yes. So anyways, folks, I'll be back with you on Monday. Have a fantastic weekend. And don't forget, do keep those eyes posted to the sky. Good night, everybody. And thank you for being here.
Become a late nighter and subscribe now. LateNightInTheMidlands.com. Exposing the truth, one show at a time. Join us in the LNM chat and get your question directly.